Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for another edition of Comic Roundtable. And with me again, I have Mike and Luke. How's it going, guys?
How you doing? Great.
Um, Strange week for me in that I have zero superhero comic books this week. My first time in my 30 plus years worth of buying comic books that I did not pull a weekly superhero book. Between my limited Marvel right now and the fact, of course, with Convergence going in with DC, that's left me with nothing, which leaves me actually a little bit anxious, to be quite honest. It's strange not having superhero books to read. It just makes me itch for these events to get over with, so I can get back to reading stuff. But next week is Batman, right? So I guess I'll have a superhero book to read next week, which is what, 3 weeks behind or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
looking forward to finishing Endgame. So speaking of that, let's just talk. Let's talk DC Comics first. Let's get that out of the way. So.
Okay.
Convergence, the main Convergence title. Luke, I'm assuming you're still picking that up?
Yeah. This one, it had its moments. It was actually pretty good compared to the other ones. What basically happened here, it's big spoiler. So if you even want, even all interested about this title, there was a couple major spoilers in this. So just forewarned. First, what happens is the Earth 2 heroes are still kind of battling Telos and his robots and whatnot. And while this is going on, Telos kind of steps back. He's looking at the big picture, and he's realizing all these tie-ins are happening. All the timelines are fighting against each other. Everything's going according to plan, with the exception of one Earth, or one time, or whatever, and that's Kandor. So he goes to Kandor and basically says, why aren't you guys fighting? And they say they refuse to fight. We're not going to fight. And he basically says, you don't have a choice. You're going to fight or you're done. They say, we always have a choice. And the leaders at the time were they Nightwing and Flamebird? I can't remember the other character. Either way, he kills Nightwing. And then the crowd that's around the Kandor go to attack Telos and basically kind of shrugs it off. And he just wipes out everyone in Kandor. So everyone in Kandor, at least in the area he was at, they're wiped out. They're all gone. And so we go back to the Earth 2 characters, or heroes or whatnot. They kind of get rid of these robots that were attacking them through Thomas Wayne. Remember last issue, he got the Batmobile from Bruce. So the Batmobile comes in, they're shooting bombs at all the robots. And so basically all the robots are gone, and that guy they linked up with last issue, Deimos, he kind of develops that whole part of where Green Lantern was saying last week, hey, the key to defeating Telos is it's something in the subsurface. So this Deimos guy actually came from the subsurface. He came from this area, I'm going to mess it up, I think it's called Stratorius. It's an old place in the DCU history. Let me see. I'm going to butcher this name. Stracartarius. Either way, it's here. And what they're doing at this place, he was booted out, and there's a person in there who's actually capturing anyone who can be an ally for Deimos, and all these people are kind of like time travelers. So I'm hoping this is how it's all going to kind of work in with the main title. But anyway, the Earth 2 characters, they want to go down to this place, and Thomas goes, I'm staying here. He's running out of that drug that he takes that gives him the ability to be a superhero. And he don't want to slow anyone down. Dick Grayson goes, I'm staying with you. Obviously, Batman first didn't really want to do it, but he submits and basically said, hey, someone was following us from Gotham as we were traveling from Gotham to get where they're at now. He didn't realize who they were, but someone's following him. He senses something bad's going to happen. And what actually ends up happening is the people that were following him were all Batman Rogue Gallery members. We had the Riddler, Dr. Hurt, Professor Pig. Remember the White Lightning in the fourth installment of Batman and Robin?
Mm-hmm.
He's one of them. So they all come. They think they're following Batman. So they get there. And they realize that, hey, this isn't the Batman we know. So they decide to attack him. And Thomas fighting him off. Zaz stabs him in the stomach, so he's got this real bad abdomen wound. And Dr. Hurt says, well, I don't know who this guy is, but we're going to take him out, and then we're going to go get Bruce, and we're going to kill his son, too. Thomas goes, you know what? You're not going to hurt another Wayne again. And what he does, he detonates a bomb. So he kills all of the Rogue members, but Thomas Wayne is dead.
Ah.
And then one more Rogue member comes up from behind. Is Dick Grayson still there? He kind of got blasted by the shock a little bit. And the Joker shows up. Joker shows up with a gun, shoots him right in the abdomen, a la The Killing Joke. So Dick Grayson can't feel his legs. And as the Joker's kind of talking smack to him, Telos comes up from behind him, snaps the Joker's neck. And Grayson's like, I can't feel my legs, go ahead, finish me off. And basically ends up with Telos basically going to make Dick Grayson tell him where all the Earth 2 heroes are. So that's where the story went. It was, like I said, overall interesting concept. I just thought that the whole thing with the Batman rogues, they really just showed up out of nowhere. It was like real quick, and it was just really not. I didn't feel like it was earned too well. And the Joker again just showed up real quick, and everything felt like it was more shock value than anything.
Right.
But overall, it progressed the story, which is good. The bad is that, again, if you're not really astute to the whole DC Universe history, you're going to be lost. It kind of continues that trend. The art was fantastic in this. But again, at least it moved the story a little bit better. And it's $3.99, so it's better than the $4.99 stuff it was doing for the first 2 issues. So,
right.
But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know if you haven't jumped on yet, whether or not this is some maybe you want to. Me, I mentioned this. I'm a third of the way through it, and might as well just keep going. I got nothing else better to read anyway. But yeah, if anyone else, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting concept. It's just the writing and just the way I think they're kind of going about it. It just seems off. I don't know.
Short of a time frame is one of the issues.
What's that?
Trying to get everything done in 2 months is too short of a time frame.
I don't think it's too short. It might be, because again, like the whole thing with Thomas Wayne, that almost feels like that's like an issue in itself.
Yeah.
The thing with the Rogues, they literally just showed up, and like the thing with the Rogues, that was like 2 pages. The Joker was like a page and a half. So yeah, maybe, but then again,
Well, you think about this, right? So it's going to be what, like 12 issues? The entire event's going to be something like 12 issues?
8.
No, 8 issues.
Mhm.
So I mean, 8 issues should be more than enough time to tell any kind of a story that you want to tell. And it's not like he's writing it week to week. I mean, this was in the can, should have been in the can quite a while ago. So this was all prepared in advance of this whole move thing for the for the editor purpose and whatnot. So it's not like they're scrambling at the last second to do fixes, I wouldn't think.
and it kind of goes back to the whole thing. They wasted a week, I think, in doing issue 0 and issue 1 basically being the same thing. Yeah, I don't. Maybe they're just biting off too much.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Maybe thought it was too easy.
And I don't know. That's. So do you feel like the event is going to be focused on just a couple of groups of heroes, and then all the rest of this stuff is just its own thing? So the story's really just going to be told its own little.
It almost feels like this is World's End Part 2. I'm waiting for the new 52 guys coming. I don't think they are.
Yeah.
If so, it's going to be like real quick. So I mean, yeah, because I think I think this really is just going to serve as like the catalyst that launched that Earth 2 title that's coming. After this.
Afterwards, right? Justice Society and whatever else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. This issue was better. It's moving along. I mean, it does kind of perk my interest. Some things they kind of mention. It's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But then again, the execution of it just seems off. In my opinion.
Okay. Interesting to hear what's going on.
Yeah. But if you want to, Mike, I know you got a Convergence title. I'm going to take a breather because I was so frustrated at this. So I will step back and let you talk.
I'll let it boil then. I got the Justice League America, and as you can see by the team, um, one of the things that made me pick it up
It's
was
the Detroit team.
yes, it is. So it was after the big three take off in pre-crisis Earth, one Gotham City, I believe is the universe that they're using. And yeah, I think the information in the back says they're the Detroit team, the big three has taken off. Aquaman uses his power to gather these people together. I liked Elongated Man, and I'm thinking about Identity Crisis. A couple of the, I love the idea, and I think in the solicit they mentioned it. He has to solve another crime, and I know that's the one thing that he's especially good at. Um, Most of these characters I didn't know. I also was hooked by just the artwork as I started opening the pages, because it was Rob Lay. Oh, sorry, no. Chris Cross was the art. Chris Cross is one name.
Right.
So I don't know how that goes down. But it's nice, It's the beginning of the Dibsies, Ralph and his wife, and at the beginning it's so already deep in their character. They're a couple. They've been together for I don't remember how they said a year or more. They've been trapped in this bubble. Nobody has their powers. Well, they've all landed on Battle World, and so they're going to have to fight each other. All the and if you know about what's going on in Convergence, but once again, I'm not collecting the main Convergence, so I'm looking at this. And, the first page, this part right here is telling me that it's, I think all these versus each other. So, Pre-Crisis Earth, New York City Earth AD, which is Commandy, Gotham City Red Rain Universe, Durvale, and Central City Tangent Universe. I don't really know most of the others. I don't, but it started hooking me. I'm thinking, well, there's going to be a little Commandy, a little bit of Ethos. This will be interesting. It's mainly concentrating on just, of course, the Justice League. That was he gathers all of his people together. They're all trying to work out their power. Nobody used their powers in a year, so everybody's just trying to figure this out. They know there's something going on the horizon. They've already heard the announcement that all these places will fight, which was nice that they didn't once again regurgitate, the whole everybody gather, prepare to battle. And it feeds into they find some kind of energy. There's it looks like a nuclear blast off of on the horizon, and as they arrive, they find out it's their headquarters has exploded, and so Sue Dinsby is with the police. They're trying to figure out what happened to the Justice League. The building has collapsed, and there's of course this wonderful little one here. It says, "Please do not touch the shiny red button." And Zartana touches it immediately to find out what's going on. And the Secret Six. I mean, that was the other thing. I did flip through it a little bit, and as I saw that, I'm like, well, that'll hook me, the Secret Six. 6 people I have never seen before, so I don't know what universe they come from.
Just out of curiosity, are they dressed as heroes?
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of costumed up here. Let me see if I can get each of them into this little photo. I think they're supposed to be slight takes on other ones, because they mentioned, like, one of them's a speedster, and...
Okay. Cool.
See if we can even get into...
I just wondered if they were using the 1960s Secret Six, or if they had something different. So it's something different.
All right, because they said like one is an atomic energy emitter with a conscience. One is the Joker without a conscience. A speedster like a Flash, just barely out for teens. So it was, it is just weird, and it was great because I mean instantly now you're getting into these fights. And so, I enjoyed it. There was, of course, the information in the back about the Detroit Justice League. Which is interesting because it kept saying, Detroit, Detroit, but they're in Gotham. So once again, it doesn't explain why they were in Gotham when all this went down. Because it's fed so quickly into the story, into the action, it is pretty good. I'm going to pick up number 2 of this. I did enjoy it. I did love the art all the way through. There's some fun characters that I already knew and some characters I was learning about. It was enjoyable. And that's, I guess, if nothing else, I picked it up for $3.99. I enjoyed the book. It didn't interfere too much with the storyline because, and it's tough. Are these Secret Six from a different universe coming into their town, or is this something before they even get to the convergence? Does this even really tie in with the main storyline? I don't know because I'm not reading the main storyline, but on its own, it was just a fun buy. So.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think with a lot of these tie-ins, you're not really going to see too much of a reference to the main story other than you must battle each other. So.
Right, and you're not going to see that stuff in the main title either, probably. Yeah.
They're slightly referenced that it's happening off to the side. That's about
right. And at some point in the series, if all this stuff ever does merge together, you might get that splash page that kind of vaguely has people in the background to show everybody's there. I doubt it'll be as good as, like, if you go back to the original, Crisis on the Infinite Earth, where George Perez is doing these panels with like 100 characters, and if you sit there, you can point out every single character that's in the background. I doubt we'll get that, but it could be cool.
Yeah.
All right, Luke. What's the next?
All right, I need to kind of roll my neck out a little bit. All right. The good news. Batman Eternal number 11 is no longer the doo-doo stain in my comic collection. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Batman the Outsiders now gets that on. And you know what? Sometimes I just don't pay attention sometimes to what I'm doing, or I don't really kind of be as thorough and kind of analyze some things. When I bought this, I didn't even look at the creative team. I didn't think anything of it until I got home. And I saw Andraco's name on it. I was like, son of a gun. Where do I begin? On a good note, the art's actually not bad. Andy Kubert cover, it's pretty decent. I think I only have one somewhat a complaint about it is the bat signal on the bat symbol on Batman looks a little bit too big. But other than that, it's a good cover. The art's not bad. There's some kind of quarrels I have with the character design, and a lot of stuff's kind of blocky, like you see in Batman's cape right there. It actually looks like shards or leaves rather than like a cape. The colors are phenomenal in this. I will give credit where credit's due. Great colors. As you see there's Black Lightning right there. Paneling is pretty decent. It kind of breaks the mold. But it's just Andraco doing what he does well, and that's just messing up stuff. Literally nothing happened in this issue. Nothing. So I'll give you the general synopsis, even though I just said nothing happened. It's 364 days into the dome being up. Batman goes, I can't figure out what's happening. Commissioner Gordon goes, the people are getting kind of antsy that you can't get the dome to go away. All the people on the Outsiders don't have their powers, and they're all just twiddling around. What am I doing? There is one piece that is somewhat interesting is Metamorpho. He don't have his power, so he's kind of like he's living normal right now, and he's got his girlfriend. And life is good for him. And then day 365 hits, and Black Lightning goes, well, Dome, happy first birthday. Hope you don't have a second. And I was like, you know what? I guarantee you, Andraco, Mr. Captain Cliche, is going to transition to right to this whole Telos, you're going to fight, blah, 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 everybody. Sure enough, I turn the page. Telos' speech shows up. and everyone gets their powers. One-man Army Corps shows up. That's who they're going to fight.
Oh,
That's really it. It was really, the dome's up, woe is me. I don't got my powers. Metamorpho's happy. Dome goes back down. Everyone gets their powers. Metamorpho's now upset. One-man Army Corps shows up. And that's it. It was nothing. I was like, what? And then I read some reviews on it, and then a lot of people said, well, this was just such a great issue for character development for these guys. And my rebuttal was that this is only a 2-issue tie-in. First off, I totally disagree with this being character development because nothing was developed other than Metamorpho. But it's like if you just wasted issue number 1, so we're going to go into issue number 2, and it's going to be any good at all. It's going to just be crammed in, and it's going to be like information overload. So it's just, I was just so frustrated when I read this. I mean, again, under normal circumstances, the tie-ins are so much better than the main book. But yeah, this one I wouldn't even recommend. Stay away from this one.
That's a bummer because I like Batman and the Outsiders. I mean that's a team I've always enjoyed back in the day. So it's a bummer that. And
it could be in it. He didn't do anything. It was literally I just remember people's complaints about Batwoman. It was just transition to this book here. I'm just like, oh, Captain Cliche, Mr. Easy Fix, just killing it. I was like, oh. So, yeah, I might regret buying it, but now I'm going to get issue number 2 because I have OCD and I can't leave unfinished, but it's definitely going to be with a grain of salt. Nothing.
What a bummer.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Good cover. Yeah. Good cover, though. Good art. Art was, the art had its moment, but the color was really good. Colors just did a bang-up job on that. Too bad nothing happened.
Any other DC books you want to talk about?
Real quick, I'm sure this is maybe not as popular I think as it should be. Batman 66 was fun. It's a big story with the Penguin stealing stuff, trying to pull the okey-doke on Batman and Robin. I'm not going to go too much into it, other than it's one of those digital releases, so I don't think it's too much play. But if you love the West series, I can't recommend this enough. This is fun. You know, Bat Josh, he kind of referenced this series as being like a systems cleanse when you're dealing with, the doom and gloom of Gotham all the time. Sometimes you need something to give you a laugh. I agree. This is my, just like his system, my system cleanse. I enjoy it. I get a chuckle. It's nothing epic. It's nothing stand the test of time. It's just a good, funny read. Take it for what it is. Campy stuff and whatnot. But yeah.
And what issue is that?
This is 22 in print. And I think there's 2 digital stories combined in here.
Right. So clearly people are picking it up. For it to go almost 2 years now, I mean, that's way past, quite honestly, what I thought its longevity would be. I was thinking if it goes a year, it was going to be doing good. So clearly a lot of people are picking it up, must be enjoying it for,
Yeah, and the 3rd trade just got released this week.
Yeah, so like I said, it clearly is. It's clearly popular. Of course, they're modeling other books on it with the Wonder Woman 77, for instance, and stuff like that. So clearly people like that kind of homage to the TV show sort of a thing. So that's cool. Like I said, that surprises me that it's gone 22 issues, 22 physical issues, because I was going to be shocked if it made it a year. So
again, like I said, I think it's toward that. If you don't like Adam West, this is gonna be just poison to you. But if you enjoyed it, it's a good chuckle. Take it for what it is. So, the last book I got, and this was my pick of the week, was Arkham Knight #3. This was awesome. This is another one of those digital stories. This one I think had 4 digital issues in it. It was awesome. Let's see, quick synopsis of it. We get a little more development of the Arkham Knight character. If you thought he was strictly a villain, maybe not as much. Might be kind of doing like the Red Hood angle a little bit. You see Harley Quinn and Penguin working together. And one of the coolest scenes, I'm going to sound really kind of weird when I say it's the coolest scene. But I'll just say it's interesting. At one point, Harley Quinn kind of corners Lucius Fox in this vehicle as Batman's fighting. No, actually, Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is fighting all these thugs, and Harley's got Lucius trapped, and she steals this laptop. There's more to it in the story, but she walks away with the laptop, and it kind of end that part of the page, and you're wondering like, well, what's going on there? And then you see the next page. Harley brings the computer to Penguin, and Penguin goes, well, this computer it's fingerprint encrypted, and I'm not, we can't use it. Well, she goes, why does all the men, underestimate me? She pulls out Lucius Fox's cut off finger, just like rubbing it like on her lips like that. I was like, oh, Harley. But yeah, and then we get a little piece of the Scarecrow, a little more development in him, and I will say I love that character design for the Scarecrow, what they're doing with the Arkham Knight. He just looks really creepy. And trying to think what else. That's pretty much it. I just kind of gave the magic hand wave. This is awesome. I don't think it's going to spoil much of the game. That's why I think a lot of people might be the initial concern is that if you read this book, it's going to spoil stuff in the game. Mm-hmm. Other than maybe just kind of getting a little bit of back history of the Arkham Knight himself. Okay, but other than that, I don't think so. I think it's more setting things up, kind of plug in the initial hole that might be in the beginning of the game, but it's fun. And I would say, if anything else, if you have any doubt, go get issue 1 digital. It's 99 cents. And then if you like it, jump on board. The art is fantastic in this. Batman actually looks like the way he's drawn, kind of like Greg Capullo-ish, kind of used that kind of theme and that kind of design style for Batman. And the best thing is just the way like kinetic energy is drawn on here. Like when like Bruce like punches people in the face, you actually see like the whole face, or fist that go like right in the face. You see blood and like teeth like spit out, and then people are getting like smashed up against the wall. They really go into detail. They really don't take shortcuts in the art, which is really cool. But the key to it is Peter Tomasi. He's writing this thing, and I kind of mentioned this before when I reviewed this, is that with these video games, you kind of get these books based on video games. There's people say it's a flop. It won't work, and there are examples where that might be the case, like Arkham Unhinged. I have them all, but I didn't think it was that good. But like Arkham City, it was written by Paul Dini, and then we have Arkham Knight, which was written by Tomasi, a guy who's really got a good pulse on a Batman character. He can actually make this type of project work, and Tomasi's actually doing a really good job in this. So if you got $3.99, again, this is 4 digital issues in one. If you got the extra money, I would say, yeah, this was fun. It's been fun all the way through so far. So.
Cool. Luke, do you do any digital comics?
No. The only time I do, if I know, like if something was released and I'm away from a comic book store.
Okay.
The only time I get them. So, but yeah, I'm print. Sorry for those who do digital.
Well, I got nothing against other people who do digital. Just don't suggest that I do digital. We're okay, Yeah. Okay, so that's it for DC books this week?
Yep.
Yeah, that's all I got. Do you want to talk the couple big news that came out DC this week?
I'm gonna look over comments here real quick just to touch those, and then we'll talk. Okay. Then we'll talk DC news. JB Sakuraba, I'm not sure how you say the last name, was just wondering if any of us read manga. That he notices that pretty much in the YouTube comic book community that people who read manga are very scarce, if at all. And he's saying that he loves Western civilization, not the genre comics, but there's all these great Japanese comics out there of all these great characters and genres that people might be missing out on. Me personally, I don't read any. My kids read quite a lot of it. 2 things. One, I'm very set in my ways, so reading a book backwards is unconventional to me and makes my brain hurt. Joking, but that does it is weird. I have read some manga. I do read some of my kids' manga that they write. I don't feel like that that there is that great of a breadth of story and genre out there in manga books, and maybe I'm just not aware of what all is out there, because it feels to me like there's like 3 genres of manga books. There's all the mecha based stuff, there's demon fighting type stuff, supernatural demon type fight stuff, and then kind of more along the lines of romance fantasy type book. And if there's something beyond that that doesn't feel like it falls within those pigeonholes, please let me know, because that seems to be the only thing I ever see is that, and none of that stuff hits a beat that is really makes it interesting for me. I mean, I don't know if you guys read or do you read manga?
I did I bought a Star Trek one for my wife and flipped through, and I enjoyed that one. And I got 2 buddies that are deep into it, but I have not, like you said, I have not found 1 or 2 that I've latched onto. I haven't been able to get into the style of it. So, you know, I guess I'll keep trying, but there's none that have hooked me yet.
Yeah.
Did he say the Western? I'm looking at the comment too. So I love Western civilization, like not the genre. Is he? We
well, when he says Western comic books, he's meaning the books that we read.
Oh, okay. Western Hemisphere.
Right.
Okay.
That's what he grew up on. That's what he grew up on and loves those. But there's this whole other thing that's coming out of Japan.
Oh, okay.
Is why I'm understanding that comment.
Yeah.
Luke, you read any manga?
Unfortunately, no, I don't.
Okay. Well, that's cool. You know, like I said, the little bits and pieces I've had, nothing's ever really struck my fancy as far as that goes. So, one Sean XXO says Convergence. In my humble opinion, taking those Earth 2 characters that haven't been interesting or likable since Robinson and Tyler left the book and making them the main focus just isn't working. It feels like the continuation of Earth 2, World's End, which for me was where Earth 2 lost itself.
And I think that's a good observation.
That's what I've been hearing too. Yeah, the Convergent tie-ins that he's getting in there, or she, I guess I shouldn't assume. They're getting around 5 a week. They're only dropping Shadow of the Bat. They've enjoyed all the other ones that they've picked up. So
really,
yeah.
I didn't like Shadow. I thought actually.
Now, see, I've heard a mixed bag on Shadow of the Bat. Either people really liked it or they did not like it at all. So
interesting.
Yeah, and Fred Brushy is asking, getting here kind of late, going to catch up on later. Do you guys have any opinions on the Remender books coming out of Image, and have you been reading Spawn at all? Well, I collect and read all of the Remender books coming out of Image. They are my favorite books. They easily fall within my top 10, Low, Deadly Class, and Black Science. And at least 2 of those easily fall within my favorite 5 comics that are running probably right now. So that's my ringing endorsement on those. And I don't read anything Spawn related. I can't get into Todd McFarlane or the machine that is Todd McFarlane. So
the Batman fan of me, also just with the Greg Capullo tie in there, I get tempted just to get his work on it because I may see bits and pieces of it. It does look cool, but yeah, I haven't made the jump. I'm tempted. I kind of want to, but yeah, I just haven't made that jump for Spawn yet.
In '99, in that time frame when they kind of started Image, I picked up probably a handful of Spawn, liked it, but just I was in a town that couldn't keep a store open. Then I never went back, and Black Science, yes, I'll back Travis up 100% on that one. I'm late to the party and on trades, but I am loving it. I mean, I'm purchasing those trades when I can.
Cool. Excellent. And Ryan C. just chimed in, here's what confuses me about Convergence. Why bring back all these great old characters, remind us of how we've missed them, and then kill them for good? Question mark. I don't know. Is that what they're going to do? Or are they, I mean, at the end of the day, are these things really going to be dead, or is it just open the door for them to then be able to use them then whenever they want to? Because we're going to lose the 52, so we're losing that hard graft on this 52 universe so they can do whatever. I have no idea.
No, I don't think like Thomas Wayne. There's no way that he's gonna remain dead. So I think they're gonna find a way. The ones that die or get battled, they're gonna somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what made me mad. I'll have to go back and look at Multiversity, where they went through the 52 of them. But as I'm looking through, I mean, there was Commander Universe, but I mean, I thought at that point that established it. That, there's a 52, and this is the 52 we'll use for different universes. But I mean, I don't remember, Durvale or Red Rain Universe.
Red Rain was there.
It was in there?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Yeah,
see, I think it would be ridiculous of them to, to put out the, Morrison's Multiversity thing and have all that stuff in there and have this huge thick thing that kind of is a guide as to all the different Earths, and then to immediately turn around and throw out an event that's going to actually annihilate them all.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, there would be no point. I mean, because they kind of, when the New 52 started, they pretty much kind of threw the rest of the universes out and kind of focused on just the 52 universe as it was, and then slowly kind of like, yeah, this other stuff exists out there. But when they first did that reboot, it was, this is it. This is all there is. This is what there is. And now they've slowly kind of let that stuff kind of creep back in. It would make no sense for them to now be pulling the plug on it again too. I think at the end of the day, the stuff's going to be there in some largest in some larger sense as far as that goes. So
since they started the New 52, have they ever done another Elseworld story?
Not until more recently. The Multiversity stuff. Really, that's been it.
Right.
Even when they did those one shots of like Kid Eternity and Rose and Thorn, and they were called National Comics. They had the old title on them. DC used to be before DC Comics was DC Comics. They were National Comics. I think we were called National Comics Presents. Even those supposedly are in continuity with the New 52 universe. Even though the books themselves read really like their own kind of a thing. So
I think there's only, Batman wise, I think the only thing that's close was this Damian son of Batman thing.
Yeah, that was thrown in the supposed future of whatever.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen until this last year though.
Yeah.
So I mean, so for the first 2.5 years, it was pretty rock solid, and that's all there was. But going on to other
unless you want to consider Injustice Elseworlds.
Yeah, no.
But that's a reach.
That was a video game.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. That's a different kind of a product. But so DC news. What do we want to talk about DC news wise?
Do you want to do the Joker, Jared Leto?
Oh, okay. So right. I mean, I don't have a picture dug up, so the internet, it's out there on the internet, a million places. Go look it up if you choose to. We all know now that the live action Suicide Squad movie is going to have the Joker in it in some sense, which as a whole doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever, we won't even get into that. And so we've seen supposedly a shot of this rendition of the Joker. Hair slicked back, half his teeth are grilled, the old gangster-style metal teeth. He's covered in tattoos, lots of ha-ha-has and smiling faces all over him. He looks kind of like a more colorful Marilyn Manson almost. Is kind of what he looks like, as far as the image. What do we want to talk about that?
Well, I was going to say I thought it was the marriage of Bozo and Iggy Pop.
Oh, sweet. Well, you know what? I think the Joker looks kind of like Iggy Pop, or Iggy Pop looks like the Joker anyway, because they're both kind of skinny. Let's see.
Sorry, Luke, what were you going to say?
No, I'm going to start off by saying I think Jared Leto is going to do a very good job or he has the potential to be a very good Joker. Have you seen him in American Psycho and, what was that movie? Perchance to Dream?
Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem for a Dream, yeah. If he can do a character to that caliber, I think he can do pretty good on Joker. Design, I only think I really had two major gripes with it, and then you've already hit on. The first one is the tattoo on the head. I can live with the tattoos everywhere else. but the whole thing with damaged tattooed on his forehead, I think that was kind of too much.
And the J under his eye, and yeah.
Yeah. And the grill, the bling in his teeth, kind of unnecessary. But
okay,
overall, I mean.
Well, so part of it is though, right? Image is just that. Okay, is that showing up?
Got a black square.
There you go. Is it showing up now?
Yes.
Hopefully it's showing up. So
there he is. Yep.
Yeah. So there is the image that's been revealed to us. Now I don't know how much of this actually shows up. How much does the Joker run around shirtless?
I think I seen him. I think he was shirtless at an RIP, wasn't he? At the very end. But I think I can count in my hands how many times I've seen him shirtless.
Right. Well, so I guess that's what I'm saying. In the show, how much is he going to be? How much is he going to be shirtless? And does that really matter? But for me, I don't mind if they change the way he looks. They change the image of the character. They make him, I don't know, more modern, more contemporary. If they put him in the old purple suit, he would look so out of place, right? I mean, let's be real. I mean, if they put him back in the old George Romero suit from Batman '66 or whatever, and that was the suit he was in for a long time in the Batman comics, it would seem really weird. I mean, it needs to be tailored in some way to make him contemporary. So
I think he's got some big shoes to fill, because who was the last person that people know as the Joker? Heath Ledger, iconic performance. So you're right.
I think re-imaging him in some sense, like re-imaging any character, I don't think is a bad thing. It's really going to come down to performance and what do they have him performing. This will work beautifully. It's going to be great and it'll be awesome in my opinion if they give him good dialogue and he plays the role. And I'm confident in the actor being able to play a lunatic. I don't see that being a problem at all.
I guess the thing I worry about is, you did mention a little bit, is what does he play in a Suicide Squad movie? Because and that's the thing, is I didn't know much growing up watching movies, and I know people have complained about previous Jokers or other bad guys being scene tours, that they just do too much, that they're too over the top. So maybe reducing his role, it might be nice also, if it's a smaller part where he can grow in other movies.
Well, that's what I think it is. I think this is kind of a you've seen the animated Suicide Squad.
Yes,
correct?
Loved it. Yes, yeah.
Okay, I still haven't seen that. I still haven't gotten around to watching that. I know I need to. He's in that, right? The Joker is in that briefly.
Yep.
And I think that this is going to be, in some sense, along the same lines. The Joker will be there in some sense, but clearly, I can't imagine that he is actually part of the Suicide Squad. That makes zero sense. That would be so against the Joker character to have him signed up to be part of. Well, I guess maybe not. I mean, I guess I can think of storylines where he would go, yeah, sure, I'll be part of the Suicide Squad. But you'd have to be insane to be Waller and go, yeah, I want that lunatic on a team. I mean, there's a difference between crazy killers that you want to do your dirty work for you and a total nutball. And we all know the Joker is not somebody that's you send on a mission. That just makes zero sense. So
and the other worry I would have is, are we talking Suicide movie, or are we talking something else? I mean, are they going to throw Batman into it since the Joker is in it? Because it seems like the Batman versus Superman movie is now Batman, Superman, we have to add Wonder Woman, we're going to get Aquaman in, and then maybe, one or two other cameos to build up to Justice League. And it's just like, let's just have the one story. Let's have one great story and have more movies. And it just seems like maybe they're trying to put too many in.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think you're going to see Batman.
No. I think what they're doing is, I think to some degree they're working at setting up their larger universe. This is a way to have Joker pop in someplace, and then they can use him someplace else, later on, kind of a thing. Plus, I think the animated, people are so excited about the animated series, that formula seems like it worked let's not. I mean, I hopefully they're not just redoing that in live action form, but I'm assuming that they, with that being as positive as it was, that this is what that's going to be. But for me, I don't have a problem with it. I know that. I mean, I've kind of been ignoring Twitter to a large degree, ignoring the internet to a large degree the last couple of days. But I know this is one of a couple things that people have just been going bonkers over, and I just don't. I guess I don't see the need to be incredibly negative about it. If you don't like it, that's fine. But taking it to the level that some people are, when we don't even know in references to what it is. I mean, I think you can kind of just using the Batman movies as an example. People lost their shit when what's his name was going to be the Joker. It was like, there's no way Heath Ledger's going to be the Joker. He's going to stink.
Oh,
he's going to be horrible.
He can't play the Joker.
Right, and and then they want to give him a Grammy after or not Grammy, but an Oscar after the fact. So I mean, So I want to see it in context. I want to see it. I think he looks cool. Does he look like the Joker? Kind of. He looks scary. I mean, I'd rather deal with the guy in a purple suit than deal with him. So
the one thing though is we always talk about it. It's by generation. Jared Leto is going to be some generation's Joker.
Yeah.
And it's weird to think of that they're like, oh, remember he's this is the Joker.
Right.
Oh wow. That is going to be somebody's Batman.
Yeah. Which is it's just interesting, but I mean I guess as our gray hair show and kind of a thing. So what other anybody anything want to tell us about that?
Nah.
What else?
Yeah, you're dead on.
Yeah. What else? What else we got?
Well, I know it's kind of old news. I know it was released, I believe, in the winter. But yeah, Frank Miller pairing up with Azzarello to do.
It was kind of a rumor. Gee, it's might going to happen, and originally it sounded like it was going to happen with maybe Scott Snyder teaming up to do it. But now it's confirmed that Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello are going to do a Dark Knight 3.
Sure.
Does anybody remember Dark Knight 2?
No.
Is the first question. I don't. I mean, clearly I haven't read it yet, so I don't really have a large opinion on is it going to be good or is it not going to be good. I mean, it wanes me towards wanting to maybe look at it because Arizio is on it.
Yeah.
I am not a fan of Frank Miller in this day and age at all, for any number of political reasons, along with I don't think he's written anything decent in a very long time. I love Dark Knight, don't get me wrong. I love that book. That book was great. So I don't really have an interest in it. I don't. It doesn't excite me one way or the other. I cannot see myself picking that book up unless the right people that I know pick that book up and read it and can give me that, oh man, this really did something. I mean, if I don't know, is the actual honest to God name of the book The Master Race? Is that the actual name of the book?
No, I didn't catch the name of it. That would be not
real?
good. That would not be good if they did that.
That's what I've heard that it is, and to me, it's like I don't know. That just seems like not the. I'll be curious to know what the storyline is if that's the title of it, because of course that generates a whole other kind of shitstorm of stuff if it's called The Master Race.
Yeah. Now, first off, the logo they had with it, I thought was pretty dang cool. I don't know if that means anything with Batman kind of using that thing where he's like on the cable line. He's all that kind of scene we saw in Zero 2, and it has that Superman, the bloody Superman symbol right next to it. That looks cool. But yeah, the whole thing with that. I don't even want to say it. I'll say it. The Master Race. Okay. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that Future's End story. I remember they said that Scott Snyder might tag on. It kind of reminded me of that kind of might make sense, where he had that Snyder story where they had like all those generations of Batmans that like every 25 years or whatever a new Batman would come, and it's like a race of Batman. If they kind of go that angle, I thought that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean the Batman in me, I'll definitely get it. It's just whether or not I'll have a headache after reading it.
Yeah.
Frank Miller can definitely whip your mind after a while, but as of late, yeah, I mean, the fact that you say again, like Azzarello's with him, I kind of might centralize him a little, kind of keep it in bay a little bit. Because he's done some good Batman stories, the Joker, and his work on Wonder Woman. So I mean, I think that's good that they're having a solid, seasoned writer who knows what the heck he's doing to work with Miller on this. And
I don't know. I want to know who the other creative forces are on it.
I don't know. I was wondering if they were in the
who's the art duties and that kind of stuff. I mean, and when is this book really going to come out? They haven't really said that, have they?
Yeah, I think they said either the fall or winter of 2015.
Okay, so just a season. So
yeah, we didn't get a date yet. No.
That could mean
8 issues and toward the end of the year.
Yeah, it could be January or February before we see it then. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
One more news thing. DC Comics and Warner Brothers is repackaging female superheroes and supervillains for girls aged 6 through 12. This includes products such as graphic novels, action figures, TV specials but not a fully animated series, online-only content, toys, and apparel.
Nice.
Right on.
And that was on the Verb.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the Verge, yeah.
Yeah, about time. My only thing is I hope they can figure out a way to transition those that are getting on at that level. Super excited for that. I think that's awesome for kids that are coming up to be able to gravitate and have something that's geared towards them. But once they reach a certain age and they want to start reading something that's a little heavier, where is that, right? I'm hoping that the rest of the comic industry gets to a place where that avenue is there for them. And I'm not talking about changing the entire industry, so it's modeled for 20-something women either, but just that there is something out there that continues that, so we don't lose them. We have them as comic book readers at this point, and then they reach a certain point, and then they go, now what do I read? Kind of a thing. I mean, we're starting to get titles that I think are addressing that gap that we've had.
And I think after Convergence we might see a little bit more of a taste of that. And of course, here is just a little taste on kind of what they are looking to do with them. So I did think it was interesting that they mentioned super villains also.
Yeah. Well, because Harley Quinn, everybody loves Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah.
Putting out a cute Harley and a cute Poison Ivy, they're going to do that. Come on. And you can't make them diabolical because they want to like them. So that's their villains that they're talking about. Catwoman, I'm sure will also fall into that. Those kind of cute. It's great.
Well, and especially like they said, now that Marvel shot itself in the foot again with the Avengers coming out and not having enough Black Widow products out.
Yeah, it makes no sense. So yes. So hopefully they take it serious. Hopefully they're they made this announcement. Hopefully they actually back it up with a good product, not something that's trite and stupid. And
that
they can do all
grows
kinds
with
of
the crowd.
That because we need it. I don't care who you are. Us old comic book readers or even new comic book readers that are older, we need that induction of young people reading comic books, because otherwise they're going to go to manga or they're not going to read anything, quite honestly. They're going to go play video games and watch TV. And we need that induction of their money for all of us to enjoy the stuff we want to enjoy. Because our stuff's not going to go away. The stuff that you enjoy is not going to go away when this stuff's happening. But it's a way to create another crowd of people that are spending money on the stuff that we love. So I think it's great all around. I wish it would have been 5 years sooner, so my 14-year-old could have gotten in on the ground floor of the stuff. She loves it all. She loves the superhero stuff. She loves the superheroines and all those girls and whatnot. There just isn't anything that really fits her cup of tea at this point. The age that she's at 14 is kind of an awkward time for a kid anyway. But right now, nothing strikes her fancy. Either it's too young and silly, which she thinks is cute for a little bit, but not anything she wants to take serious, or it's deadly serious kind of stuff, which is a little too over the top for her. So.
Want to make sure we got that information in before the Batgirls got it out. So.
Yes. Thank you. I forgot about that. That was one of the things I was gonna mention. There's other stuff I don't know if we want to talk about. New Comic Book Day is coming up. Next weekend, right?
Yes.
Rumors have spilled out about what DC's book is going to be. Have you guys heard that?
No.
That Lois Lane is going to out Clark Kent as Superman.
All right.
About time.
Yeah.
So what happens when you get a
But there are people that are pissed off about that how dare she, and whatever else. She's a reporter, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And
surprise.
And they don't have the relationship that they have. Why would you? I mean, unless they have a compelling story as to why you would settle on that, why would you not? If you had that kind of information, why would you not write that story and win the Pulitzer Prize? Come on. So I don't know. And then that might be interesting. Clark Kent doesn't. I mean, does he need a secret identity anymore? Does he do anything as Clark Kent except for go to dinner occasionally with Wonder Woman, wearing their glasses and hiding like they're regular people? I don't know. I mean, I don't read Superman right now, so I don't know how much that affects Superman of him not having a regular life. Because I think Ma and Pa are gone, aren't they? I don't know. I guess I don't know enough of my Superman right now.
Yeah, Batman, Superman. It's the same thing. Villains know.
Yeah.
Superman's Clark Kent, and it's.
So I don't. Matter. I don't know. It might be interesting. It might be interesting to tell some stories that way, or who knows? And it's Free Comic Book Day. I can't imagine they're going to do anything too heavy hitting in Free Comic Book Day.
Yeah, they got that. No, I'm not going to mention it. I don't even want to bring it up. You think I think you know what I was gonna say. But
no. Okay, so any other DC news we want to talk about? I'm just kind of looking over comments here. Ryan C's got a lot of comments to make about Dark Knight. And Dark Knight 2 and whatnot. So, and he doesn't think that Miller is going to be that. Questions what level of involvement Miller is going to have in the Dark Knight 3 also, because he's not in good health right now. And 8 issues, twice a month it's supposed to be.
Oh,
I didn't see that.
Well, he's saying here also the level of Miller's involvement could be pretty minimal. He's confirmed to be involved, sure, but the publisher's schedule for it is 8 issues, twice a month. I can't see him keeping up with that, especially with his given health these days. But yeah,
it would be kind of good if he kind of took a page from Snyder and Eternal, have him just do the overall plot.
Sure.
Maybe have Azarello.
Well, they put his name on it. That way, it has his blessings, and he's collecting a small paycheck, so they can use the Dark Knight story further. Because you don't come up with something new. You might as well just keep reusing the same titles and stuff you've been using for the last 20 odd years, right? At any rate, so let's move on. Let's move on to Marvel, of which I have no books this week because I had all my Marvel books last week. So, we got any Marvel books to talk about?
Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I know Luke also picked it up. The Inhuman special.
Featuring Spider-Man.
Featuring Spider-Man. Yep. Now, kids, when you go to pick up your comic book, don't do it like I do and just flip around a little bit. Look at the whole cover, especially the part, right down here, where it even tells you that it is part 2 of 3. So if you haven't picked up part 1, and you don't think you're going to pick up part 3, but I probably will now. I'll even probably go back for part 1. And you're not really happy about the $5 price, take an extra minute. Otherwise, no. I mean, I thought it was amazing art, actually. Ryan Lee does the art. It reminded me a little bit of The Life After. Like, as I started to look at this part of it, where you get this kind of angel guy, it really made me think. I'm like, I had to go and make sure it wasn't the same, artist. I liked it a lot. Then it kicks right into the action of Spider-Man and Inhumans. But I'm not going to give too much. I definitely want Luke to say what he wants to. I, after reading it, I didn't mind the $5 price tag, I guess, as bad. The principle of it still punched me in the stomach, but it's a good comic. I mean, it's beautiful art and a fairly decent story. So
Yeah, I got duped buying #1. I mean, it wasn't because I bought the Inhuman story arc. It's just the way #1 is packaged. It looks like a normal Amazing Spider-Man comic. So that's the only book I get from Marvel. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't. I got duped, but it's I don't know. Um, it's a lot. I mean, you do pay $5. It's a thick book, so you get a lot, which is good. Yeah, from issue 1, I don't think you're missing much. To be honest with you,
all right,
issue 1 was not more than literally Spider-Man doing something on his own. That he literally just ran into all these Inhuman people, and then who they fight? Red Raven.
yeah, Red
Yeah,
Raven.
he makes his entrance. I mean, which you get a little bit of the gist of why he's so angry at superheroes.
Yeah.
So you be honest. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're missing much in issue #1 as far as
All right.
prerequisite knowledge going into issue #2. Um, yeah, it's not bad. The art compared to issue #1, yeah, if you're just this would be so weird in trade. This would be like the Batman Eternal effect. It's such totally different art styles from the Amazing Spider-Man issue to this, and I know we see at the very end, where this is gonna go for part 3 in that Captain America. And it's jarring. It's a jarring difference. It's not bad. I wasn't really a fan how Spider-Man was drawn. He looked kind of
Yeah,
sweet of page.
there were times, where you get something like this, and at
Yeah,
that point, I mean, it is. It's so weird how they did his face, and but I think that's kind of what I liked about it. I mean, like I said, to me, it felt a little bit like The Life After. It had this surreal a way they did their people, that the faces were a little overly exaggerated, because especially like when I think back to Red Raven himself, his body or face, and I'll see if I can't find a good picture of that. Some of it was really a little wild. I mean, like, yeah, down here. I mean, when I was looking at that, it was that
It
kind of
does.
reminded me.
Yeah.
lamb chops. Good lamb.
Some of it where they grip his face, it's just some of it's weird. So
I will say they nailed Spidey in this. The character, just hit the way his dialogue is. They nailed Spider-Man.
Who wrote this issue?
Uh, Loveness.
yeah, Jeff Loveness.
Yeah. Um, and the whole thing with Red Raven and oh god, I forget her name. Was it Medusa?
Yes. Yep.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, their whole interaction I thought was pretty decent.
Yep.
I just like I said, I just don't know if I would have. If I originally thought this was a Amazing Spider-Man story arc. I didn't do my homework, so I don't know if I would have jumped on knowing where it's going. But that said, I wasn't too disappointed. I mean, I think you have a good point. It's a good read. It's good. I don't feel now looking back, I don't feel bad for buying it, but yeah, the art's
And
definitely kind of original.
yeah, I don't know much. I don't know if Red Raven has been brought up before with someone else, but there was a Red Raven in the Avengers Arena, and she's like the second character I think to die in that. So I mean, you don't even learn anything about her. So it was interesting that it may tie into this.
Yeah.
So I might have to Wikipedia that.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm no way, shape, or form even a master at the Marvel Universe history. I'm a rookie, to be honest with you. I know a little bit about Spider-Man. That's it. Yeah, it's just I mean, there might be more to it than that. I just don't know too much of the back history. Maybe if I knew more, it might make me enjoy it a little more. But it is kind of confusing, though. You're right about that, but not bad.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the next one's with Captain America, right?
Yeah, and I'll probably pick it up. I have been picking up Cap, so I'm
Yeah.
kind of a sucker. It looks like garbage. I'll pick it up.
Yeah. And again, like the OCD in me, I got 2 or 3. I just can't. It'd be like a little itch. I just can't stop. Get it, satisfy the urge, and go, okay.
Comic book companies love you, Luke.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do.
Well, it's garbage, but it's number 4 in a series of 5.
Yeah. Gotta get 4 more. So, oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
Do you got anything else, Mike, you want to say on it?
No. I'm all done up. Thanks.
Okay. I got Amazing Spider-Man 17.1. This one, it's part of the Spiral story arc. Part, I think there's 3 parts. I'm not sure, but basically what's happened is that this character, if I don't know if you've ever heard her, I mean, I don't want to sell anyone's intelligence, but the Wraith, familiar with the character, the Wraith, is this police officer that doubles as a superhero, but she'll do the Red Hood angle too. She'll cross that line. But basically, what's happened is that her captain or her boss or supervisor, I can't remember what the rank was killed by Tombstone's character, one of Tombstone's thugs. So that's how basically issue 1. This is again issue number 2. Is that she's trying to go after this Tombstone guy, but what happened is that there's this judge that kind of blocked any legal action that she was trying to get at. And what happened was this judge was on the payroll of Tombstone supplying them drugs. So this detective, Wannabe, I think her name was, or Captain Wannabe, whatever, she does her Wraith thing, and she works with this character called Mr. Negative, which is basically feeding her all this information about the connection between Tombstone and this judge. And that's where issue 1 is. Issue 2 picks up where now that Tombstone was arrested, and so is this judge. Now Tombstone's territory it's kind of left this vacuum. So now Hammerhead and King Goblin, if I'm saying the character right, are now vying to get this territory, which happens to be the same precinct that the Wraith is in charge of. So her Spider-Man go to take out Hammerhead and King Goblin, but both escape, and you get the nice little teaser at the end where obviously the Wraith find out about this deal, how they were going to divvy up the land was basically going to be a thug from Hammerhead's gang was going to fight a thug from King Goblin's gang, and whoever won that fight was going to get the territory. While this Mr. Negative again was feeding all this information to the Wraith, so that's how she was finding out about it. And basically, what happens? Her and Spider-Man come in, they stop the show. Nothing really gets settled, but you see Mr. Negative, who was like sitting up in the balcony, kind of observing all this. So he's kind of playing, all these bad people against the Wraith and whatnot. And it's pretty good. It's not bad story. The art is superb in this. I'm a DC boy by nature and Batman guy at heart, but I got to give credit where credit's due. The art in this is just superb. I don't even know who the artist's name is. Carlo Barberi, I think. But yeah, it's phenomenal throughout. Great polished art, great colors, and it is. I was really enjoyed looking at it. Here's let me see if I can get you that. Here's another picture of Spider-Man. It's really great art to look at, and it's an interesting story. I think again these are these are .1, so after each main title issue, which is going against that Peter Parker bidding for this
Prison,
hospital
right?
for the prison, yeah. So you get that, and then the next issue will be the Spiral tie-in. So I think this is actually better than that story arc. But yeah, here's this Mr. Negative. I don't know if he's like a relatively newer character or he's an older one. I don't have too much of the Marvel Universe history, but this was fun. I would definitely say if you got some extra bucks and if you like Spider-Man and you're kind of on the fence of the Spiral story arc, this is pretty interesting. And I like how they play the angle between Spider-Man trying to keep Wraith in check, making sure she don't go too far. She is a cop, by the way, so try not to go too out of the arena of law enforcement, kind of let the system do its thing, and she doesn't like the system, which is kind of weird because she's in the system, but whatever, here nor there.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a fun read. So yeah, I would say if you like Spider-Man, yeah, this was fun.
I
Sounds
think
cool.
Mr. Negative came in when Aunt May was dating Jonah Jameson's father and was helping out in the soup kitchen. I think Negative sponsored the soup kitchen, and that's when Eddie Brock was recovering from his cancer.
What? Are you being serious?
Yes, yeah.
Wow, that's complicated. Okay, awesome.
And I mean, somebody else, I'm just remembering, it tied into a storyline, and that was kind of what I remembered from the storyline.
Okay.
So, no, yeah, seriously, but I don't read a whole lot. I think I got some dollar issues. So I only got like 2 of the storyline.
So Aunt May dating James Johnson Jr.'s dad.
Yeah, and I
Working
think
in the
I think she's doing that now. I think.
Working in the soup kitchen. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, who's she dating now? I think that's who she's dating now.
All right.
I gotta look
Wow.
into that. I think that's who she's dating.
Cool. Any other Marvel books you want to talk about?
Nah, that's 2. I'm surprised I got 2 Marvel books in 1 week. That's
Yeah, I was on the solo one, and that was just because of the art grabbed me. So.
Awesome. Okay, so any Marvel news we feel
Yeah,
we want to talk about?
Relationship-wise, I know you probably wanted to talk about this one. Secret Wars is going to get a romantic series.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What's-
It's called Secret Love, and I think there's multiple writers, but it's like Miss Marvel is going to have a storyline. The new Ghost Rider.
Why would Ms. Marvel have a storyline? Okay.
Miss Marvel, yeah, it's Ghost Rider, Miss Marvel, and then a love triangle between Daredevil, Karen Page, and Matt Murdock. And this is supposed to be. I'm sorry. I'm serious. Looking it up on.
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Not everything I talk about on comic books is made up. It's during the Battle Worlds, released in August, an anthology-style book featuring romances with the all-new Ghost Rider, Miss Marvel, and Matt Murdock. So.
Okay, so releases in August. Do either one of you guys have any idea when the Battle World / Secret Wars stuff actually all starts? June? Is it June? When the DC's new books come out, the Secret Wars stuff starts?
That's
I
what I heard around that time. Yeah.
Because I thought that's when Thor was wrapping up. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, okay.
Yeah, I've had trouble.
I'm
figuring
just
out
really
when the first
confused.
one.
I'm finding it very frustrating to figure out when, what is what. You got Battle World and the Secret Wars stuff. When does it start? When does it legitimately end? When do we go? When does the new Marvel Universe start? I guess is my question. I haven't figured that out yet because we're talking clear into August.
Yeah.
June, July, August. That's when it starts. It doesn't start until August. So we're talking like an entire quarter, right, or more of a sales year. All their books are going to be tied into the Secret Wars stuff.
Maybe they just want to shoot themselves in the foot. I have no idea.
Well, I don't know if they're shooting themselves in the foot. They get lots of extra sales on events.
Possibly, but it's just the lack of knowledge I think we got out of both of these events. DC did do better where it had a whole list of what was coming out at the end, but I think Convergence itself, until we started reading it, I didn't know that I at least didn't have a good grasp of it.
Well, I just don't know if we as consumers we're too hung up on wanting to know all this stuff, and we should just hear a book that's cool, they're just hoping you're going to get that book. Oh, I love 1992 X-Men. I'm going to go get the 1992 X-Men book, regardless of what it's tied into or how it affects anything else. I'm just going to party with that because it's cool. Just like some of us are picking up some of these Convergence titles because, I remember the Teen Titans back when Marv Wolfman was on it, so I'm going to get the Teen Titans because, Marv Wolfman's on it. Now, the nostalgia thing, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know. I don't know. I find the whole thing frustrating and confusing as to how I'm supposed to be looking at this as a consumer. Do they just assume that I'm just going to, like I said, buy everything that looks like it might be fun, and without a thought as to how does it all hook together? Because like you guys in this title where you bought an Inhumans book and went, damn, it's not just an Inhumans book, it's also a Spider-Man book and it's a Captain America book, you know? Because that kind of stuff drives me crazy. You know, I'm already getting this. I don't want to have to get that to get this kind of a thing. I get sometimes clearly if there is one main event book, Secret Wars. If I'm buying a side book and I'm not buying the main book, there's a certain amount of information I may be missing, and I understand that because it is a tie into the main book. But it should kind of have its own story. There's just pieces of it that are maybe missing for me. But I don't want it to weave in and out of stuff where I'm reading issue number 2 of Marvel Romance, and it says to get the end this, you need to get Secret Wars number 7.
Yeah.
So you go and read Secret Wars number 7 for 2 panels or a page to tell me that clearly Karen can't kiss both Daredevil and Matt Murdock at the same time, or she can. Dun dun dun. Person. And then I go back to my romance book, and then 2 issues in, I get screwed because, now Thor's kissing Thor, and I gotta go see that someplace else because it's not in the romance book. I don't know, whatever it is. That frustrates me as a consumer, I guess. So.
Well, no, and it just made me interesting because I know you've mentioned a couple of times, would you pick up a romance book? So that's what kind of made me peak on that when I heard that.
Yes, if it's actually going to be a romance book. DC a couple years ago put out a Valentine book that was their DC romance, and it was horrific. The stories in it were horrible. It was really, really bad. So just, having 2 heroes or a hero and a secondary character flirt or get it on or whatever, just for the sake of doing that to me is not a romance comic.
All right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
I want, so
it's different. Yeah, if it could have been one issue in the Thor, make it just one issue in the Thor.
Right.
But if it is an ongoing story where it has something that's going to affect the characters, where it is a full story,
Right. If you're going to put out 8, 10 ongoing issue of, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
A soap opera.
Yeah.
I guess. But
I felt that was the whole X-Men series in the late 80s when I read it.
Yes,
so.
There were lots of that in there, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. But any other...
That was my big contribution.
Okay. Any other Marvel news? I know that some of you lucky people who live in England, if you're watching this now, you've already seen the latest Avengers movie. Of course, for us, it's coming not now this weekend, it's next weekend. I hear people love it. I hear whatever. So. And again, God bless the internet. There's some controversy around that whole thing, and some of the actors said some stupid stuff, and people took it very personally. And so I don't know exactly what all that is, but are you gonna go see that next week?
Yes.
If I can.
I'm hoping to go see it. I don't know if I'm going to see it opening weekend, though. 2 reasons. One, because, I don't want to give Marvel my money on opening weekend because it's Marvel and I'm a DC fanboy. Yeah. And, or that's what everybody keeps telling me anyway. And I don't know. I think I have to buy my tickets right now. Otherwise, the theaters are all going to be sold out here. And I can't plan that far in advance for my entire family to get to go see it, so I don't know. So, I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to go see it in the theater. I did find the first one fun, so I'm sure the next one should be amusing too. So, but okay, so no other real Marvel news other than Marvel romance stuff. So we're gonna move on to indie books. I don't see. I haven't really seen any comments about Marvel. Well, maybe let me double check, just to make sure, so I'm not accused of neglecting the. Nope, I don't really see anything other than Reader 17. And Daredevil. We dig it. I'll get it for that. You said a love triangle, not a threesome. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was when you said Daredevil, also did remind me. I mean, the second season has been approved of Netflix Daredevil. So
Sure, I thought pretty much a given though. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Of course, we still have to wait a year or whatever, and it'll be curious how they put all that out because of course they're tying all those, as we've talked about before, all those Netflix shows together at some point. So when does the next season of Daredevil come out versus when Jessica Jones comes out and then the Power Man Iron Fist comes out and then the whole Defender thing comes out. So
yeah. I did hear that it may cause a delay on the Defenders at least, if not Iron Fist or Luke. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, that'll all be curious to see how that plays out and whatnot. So yeah. Yeah. So on to indie books. Anybody want to start? That's all I got, guys.
Yeah.
I'll start off and say you made a good recommendation about the Fade Out. I got number one, second print. Loved it. It was pretty cool. So thanks for recommending it. So.
Yeah. Hey, not a problem. Hopefully you can track down the rest of them or get it in trade.
Yeah, I saw issue 2. Another store has issue number 4. Issue 3 is the one I won't be able to find, so I might have to eBay it or something. I don't know. So.
Yeah. But if you like the first issue, I think you're going to enjoy it because it's pretty well along that same tone all the way through it. So I'll start out. Let's see. What do I want to talk about first? I don't know. Let's see. Intersect, issue number 6. Yes, I'm still reading this thing.
Is that the one with the really weird art?
Yes, and no cohesive storyline. And it's still that way. Issue 6 was the end of a story arc. Only reason I know that is because Alyssa Jason's told me it was the end of a story arc. Nothing about this book felt like the end of anything, but quite frankly, it's never felt like the beginning of anything either. It's art. I'll put it that way. It's art in the sense that it's there. You can consume it however you want to. My take on it is that it's not really a cohesive story. Not enough for anybody. I think. I mean, I get bits and pieces of it. Don't get me wrong. I can spend time talking about the book and saying, "Oh, this is kind of happening, that's kind of happening." So I'm not totally clueless on what's going on in it. But for it to be any kind of a real picture of an understanding, it's not there. Clearly everybody gets their own mileage out of every book they read, but I just don't know how you can tell me this is a successful comic book as far as it telling a story and having any level of satisfaction when you're done, even to this point when you're done with it. I read lots of books where I'm just along for the ride and I like the adventure of maybe not knowing and having the surprise of something that's there. But in all that other stuff I've read, there is something at the end of it. This is like reading, very personal poetry about somebody's own personal headcanon, and you have no frame of reference as to what that has to do with anything at all. And so I'm sure it's cool if you're sitting inside of Ray Fox's brain. Outside of that, I don't know.
That's kind of disappointing. I like when Ray Fox writes.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I have other stuff of his, other experimental type stuff that he's done, like One Soul and stuff like that. That's all from Oni Press, also. That I really enjoyed and whatnot. And kudos to him for trying something different. I'm always asking, let's push the envelope. There's amazing stuff you can do with comics. Let's go and do some of that. And this is an attempt at that. It doesn't feel successful to me. It is, but he's going on with it. I mean, there's another arc coming out set in another town, and somehow it's all going to tie together. I have no idea how it's going to tie together because none of this tied together, really. So and that's probably, I spent way too much time talking about it already. So it is what it is. Life After, issue number 9, wonderful story. This issue in particular read really fast. Hemingway and Jude, our two main characters, are in hell. They're trying to figure out how to get out of hell now because they've got themselves in hell, and are clearly in hot water being in hell. And our group of forgotten children that are kind of between heaven and hell and whatever other versions of those are out there have gathered together, and they're trying to catch up to Jude and Hemingway to save them. They end up going to hell. They take a demon with them that they've kind of lulled into peace, love, and happiness. And she warns them, look, if we go to hell, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to go back. If we go back to the pit, I'm going to go back to being a monster. And that is what happens in this. There's some great fight scenes in there with the demon in it. Corporate hell is basically getting ready to start war with corporate heaven. It's how this thing kind of ends towards the end of it. But lots of fun. Just a really cool book. I mean, I just enjoy the hell out of it.
Do you know who's the creative team on that?
Oh, I'm sorry. That is Joshua Hale Falkoff is doing the writing on it. He writes The Bunker. He wrote I, Vampire. He wrote some Marvel stuff too. I'm drawing a blank on exactly what some of the Galactus stuff. I think some Ultimate Universe stuff. I think he wrote. What else does he write besides The Bunker? I think there's something else, but I can't remember what it is right offhand. And the art is by Gabo, Gabo, and his art looks a lot like that Inhumans. I mean, Mike's right. They really do have a lot of the same kind of look. There's an awesome bunny character in this comic. The bunny character is this ancient deity that supposedly is dead. The people who kind of control heaven thought they killed the bunny. Here's a great scene. The bunny has fractured himself into lots of little bunnies, and he rescues them all from hell. But it's all these cute little bunnies, and they're rubbing each other's tummies and just all happy and everything. But the panel before that to rescue, the bunny comes and rescues them because they're literally trapped in a dark room. They're trapped in a dark room in hell, right? And there's a knock at the door, and the door opens up, and it's the bunny, and the bunny's scratching his ear, going, "Hey, I'm here to help you." And then there's this hall, and there's all these slaughtered people in this hall, and they're like, "Whoa, what happened here?" And the rabbit's like, "Well, they got between me and my family." And I mean, the entire hall looks like if you took the Mighty Python Bunny, the evil bunny in Mighty Python Search for the Holy Grail, for those of you who know that. And the bunny just absolutely, I mean, there is gore all over the walls and whatnot, this office building where he shredded all these people to get to his friend. So, I don't know, it's fun.
I saw your Twitter on that. That's
yeah. The rabbit is cool. So what'd you guys read for indie books? Go ahead,
Luke?
Mike.
All right.
Okay, or Luke, I don't care. Mike?
Manifest Destiny, and this is what started my pull list. I've been very happy with it every single issue. They've gotten this purple, it's a mixture between maybe an owl and a bear. And it's just, it digs into the first soldier it can find. It's almost biting his arm off. But of course, Lewis wants to keep it. He wants to figure out what it is. And, you kind of see him down here. I mean, he's just the cutest little guy ever. And their dog loves him. And, he's like, well, maybe we should do something about this, They got him in a cage, and they're like, well, what's the worst that could happen, And he's like, well, I wonder if this thing is full grown. And then, see if I can get some light on it. You can see that one of the guys gets nabbed by the giant mama version of it. He's on duty guarding. All of a sudden, he's gone. They all wake up, and they're like, we don't know where he is. And it starts a mutiny. So all the guys are like, no, he left. The guy left, and we're going to leave also. And he's like, what are you going to do? You're going to trek through the forest with all the monsters and demons? And they're like, it's better than this, quest that you got us on. So Lewis decides he's going to fight somebody from the crew, and they get to pick who they want. As he goes to tell them the rules of the fight, he's already instantly punched by the guy. So
it's Lewis that's doing the fight and not Clark, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't Clark normally the put a fist in him? I mean, Lewis is the thinker, right?
Yep. And I think they're going to show that he's got some kind of trick or he's got it figured out. But they picked the biggest guy, and he's like, all right, I understand. Because he originally argued with somebody else, but he goes, you're a puss. I'm not going to fight you. pick want when they pick the guy. He's like, all right, let's talk about the rules, and it reminds me of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, where they instantly start, going at it like, all right, somebody count to 3, 1, 2, 3. So, I am continuing to enjoy it. I didn't even see the criminal that you hated, Travis, but he's going to make it near the end, I'm sure, and then something nasty has got to happen to him. But,
I hope Sacagawea gets him at some point.
Yeah. And right now she's having trouble with her pregnancy, so everybody all the men want to stay away from her. Because they don't want to know about women and pregnancy.
Of course.
So, definitely my pick of the week. I mean, like I said, it's what started my whole pull list, and I've loved every issue of it. You hate some of the characters, but I love the book.
I may at some point go and pick up some of those later issues in trade just to read the story, but I don't know. At the same time, it seems like it takes them forever to get anywhere in it. So
yeah, but that's why it might read better in trade. I mean, I am, but the thing is I'm in anticipation of each month that it comes out. So I think that's what's fueling me in it right now.
Cool. Luke, what you got?
Nothing. You got no superheroes.
Right.
I got no indies.
That's right. I remember you saying that. So it's just going to be all me talking. All right.
Well, I got one more, so I'll wait.
I picked up Lazarus. Absolutely love this book. Continues to be really awesome. Great near future world run by corporate families. Control everything. War has been declared amongst a couple of the families, and everybody's most of the families have taken sides. When I say families, these families control most of Canada and 3/4 of the United States. Another group controls another quarter of the United States and down into Mexico and whatnot. So I mean, these corporations are massive. This issue focuses in on a nun who we've seen a couple times. She runs like a giant RV caravan kind of a thing, and they go from place to place administering medical aid to the common folk of these different zones. There's some sort of law that's been agreed to amongst all the families that they'll leave these nuns alone and let them do their aid work. I mean, they get searched when they cross borders and stuff like that, and depending on how paranoid the family is or that checkpoint is, depends on how well they search them, but that they're pretty much given free reign to kind of move about and like I said, administer aid to the very needy, because the people at the bottom are extremely needy in this world. I mean, the 99% live horrific lives as a whole. It seems extremely hard lives at best. And one of these nuns is actually a secret agent of sorts. I mean, she is a nun. I mean, that is her calling. And somehow she has been indoctrinated into the Carlisle family, which is the main family that our main character Forever is part of. And she is gone into the enemy territory because the enemy is notorious for when wars break out. Strains of influenza show up in the other families' places, and we're not talking influenza like we all get the sniffles and get a little sick. We're talking healthy adults drop dead by like 30% kind of a thing. So we're talking millions of people die. Well, in preemptive of this whole thing going on, the nuns are in the right place, and they're trying to gather that information before this family that they're fighting with can unleash this new virus on and weaken them before the actual combat starts. I mean, the war has started, but nobody's actually shooting each other yet. This is part of the espionage part of the war. And so she is sneaking her way down to Havana, Cuba. That's where the labs are at, and that's where Patient Zero is. And they're going to gather this information and then rush back to their home base and try and get a cure or an inoculation from it, so they don't lose their large numbers of their men in the process of the war starting. And of course, she's been tasked with being a double agent, but has no skill set for that. So she's scared to death. and it's a great story, wonderfully written. It's really intriguing because it's all told from her perspective. She's writing in a journal. My only issue with it is, and maybe this is because I'm an old man or whatever, so it's all written in this journal form, so it's in cursive writing. Okay, this is the big print. Later on, there are pages, lots of the comic is standard comic people talking and whatnot, but then there are parts that, like here's this giant data page, which is really cool, lots of information, but this down here, it's written in her journal. The print is super small, people, and it's on a curve because it's the book. Now, I wear glasses, and my glasses make my eyes, so I have perfect eyesight, and this is a bitch to read. Yeah. Between it being cursive and it being that small, it was hard. My son Ethan, and there's, like I said, there's lots of it that's written that way. There's lots of the comic that's what it is. I mean, this is the comic page, 2-page spread. So data and most of the story is right there. He had problems reading it too, so it's not just my old man eyes. So that's my only caveat with this issue. It's real, like I said, really intriguing and whatnot, but the lettering, how small that is and whatnot, just made it really hard to read. I would love to be able to read the script of it just so I could clearly read what's being written. I mean, I get them trying to make it look like it's in her book because you're reading her diary, but yeah.
American Vampire, I think the issue 5 did that same exact thing, and that was hard to read.
Yeah.
Journal entries were real small print.
And that makes it frustrating for it to be like that because it is such a great story. I'm really loving that. It's very depressing, but very intriguing too.
Can I ask how they got the whole angle with the nun doing the spy thing? How did she get involved in all this?
Yeah, they haven't given us the full story on that. We've just seen bits and pieces of it. Yeah, we're slowly getting bits and pieces of how she got under their thumb, basically. The Carlisle family treats their caravan better than most of the families do. Because they're in the Hawk family's place, and the Hawk HOCK. They don't believe in religion. The religion is Dr. Hawk himself. I mean, he is basically God. He provides. Their entire citizenry is medicated. They literally prescribe medication to all citizens. Everybody takes their blue pill at this hour. Everybody takes their black pill at this hour. Everybody takes so they're kind of all got this cocktail going on them. So they're kind of mindless droogs. And when they travel into the Hawk territory, they basically get molested while they're being searched to get into it. But we don't know why. They haven't explained to us completely why it is that she is part of this group, and she doesn't know if there are other nuns that are part of that either. I mean, for all she knows, some of the other nuns could be working for some of the other families, kind of a thing. But they haven't given us the complete detail. Or if they did give us that detail, it's somewhere in the fine print in this issue that I haven't been able to read yet. Because quite honestly, I'm going to read this issue again. I'm going to pull out the magnifying glass to see if that helps me pick up on any little details. Because there's lots of data written also in the pages besides her diary that might explain some of the other aspects of that. Because mostly from her diary's aspect, she's just kind of questioning, she's supposed to be doing God's will, and what really is God's will. She questions whether there is, she's having questions of faith, because by the end of this issue, I don't really want to spoil anything, but at the end of this issue, things go really south for her. I mean, she's basically in enemy territory, and she's doing something that could get her killed instantly, and the person she's meeting, bad stuff happens to, and she kind of becomes the focal point of what's going on. So she's questioning whether there's God, but has decided that there is God, but God means love and stuff like that, and she's not sure how there can be love in the current environment that the story is in. So
it's deep.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good, but not a real happy, rosy picture, that's for sure. Another one, I noticed a lot of my covers all have this kind of brown hue to them, this browns and reds. I just find that really curious that this month. Wow. I don't know. Anyway, Suicider, this is issue number 3. Absolutely loving this book. The art in it is amazing. We're getting more backstory on our main character, the Saint, the grand champion of New LA, in his kind of gladiator, pit arena thing they got going on. There's been a murder at his house. Basically a 5-star reporter that he basically spent the night with ends up murdered in his house by his handlers, of all things, because supposedly she may have discovered something about his past that they don't want anybody to know. They slit her throat and leave her for dead, but she's not actually dead completely yet. She manages, naked, to crawl out the guy's mansion, over the gate, and throw herself on the car of 2 paparazzi who have been stalking the Saint for forever, trying to get dirty, trying to get some dirt on him. Well, clearly, having a nude, basically the equivalent of Dan Rather, fall across the hood of your car with the naked, with your throat slit, is pretty high quality paparazzi stuff, right? Of course, they're freaking out and running away, and because they know that they're in trouble, they have this information. They got to figure out how to use it and make money on it, and at the same time not get themselves killed. So that's all ensuing, and we get kind of flashback history of more of the Saint, of how he came to be in this place. As far as world building go, we find out that New LA is its own country. It actually is its own sovereign state, because they comment in here about how the American flag, they had to rip a star off of it because of LA becoming its own thing, which I thought was interesting in it. The art in it, like I said, is amazing. Art by Lee Romero, colors by Matt Hollingsworth, and Lee Romero does the writing on it too. But it is just, it is rich tones, lots of ink washes and stuff on it. But it's pretty striking and just a really intriguing story. I mean, every issue I think gets a little more interesting, and there's some action in it and stuff from back in the day, and it's just really cool. He's getting ready to fight a guy called the Patriot. The Saint doesn't really seem into it anymore. He's kind of losing his excitement over it. Here's the Saint, and this is the Patriot. And by the end of this issue, this is the Saint's manager. He is meeting secretly with the Patriot and saying, hey, you go exclusive with me, and I can make you #1. Implying that maybe the Saint's time has come. He's getting to be too much of a liability with some of his behavior, and maybe it's time to take him out. So,
yeah, that art looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with the book. The guy writes and draws it, and I don't know what his drawing process is as far as how fast he is. He is also going to be writing the We Are Robins book. That's coming out in June. So I don't know. I don't know how, if you're a writer artist, how then you go and do another. I don't know, but it'll be curious to see. What else do I want to talk about? I'm not going to talk about everything.
Go
ahead, Mike.
All right. Miami Vice from Lions Force Comics.
Remix, awesome.
Yeah, I picked it up because of nostalgia. I remember the TV show.
And they Crockett.
Yep, and they basically kind of follow along with it. I mean, it is crazy psychedelic with how the colors pop. I mean,
it looks just like the 80s.
It does. It really lives in the 80s. I mean, the outfits, and I pretty much think a lot of it may be coming off of old episodes too. They're playing around with the new drug might be turning people into zombies. They haven't fully gone that way yet with it, so I don't know if that's what they plan on doing with it. And I started reading it, and I put it down, and I read the next day a little bit, and then I put it down, and I couldn't figure out why until, as you were talking, you mentioned, the lettering. And the story is by Joe Casey, and the art is, and letters are by Jim Mahfood. And I think that is what the issue is. Oh, colors are by Justin Stewart, if anybody likes, the colors popped. But I guess that's the thing I'm thinking of is he did his art, and the writer's like, well, you got to put the boxes in. He goes, well, yeah, I'll put the boxes in. I'm just going to, put them in, willy-nilly and sketch in at the, my little words, and it looks like, he took his pen, and it looks like it's all freehand, and it looks like I did it. So, I mean, it is. It's like, oh, this is the box, and I really feel like it's the like if you got it on the page, like exact size. I know that the pages are actually huge, but I really felt like he had to write in after somebody did the coloring and everything else. Like, I'll just do it by hand. Don't worry, I'll do it on every book. And he just go through and scratch it on in. So I think I'm done. It really it was too much. I mean, there's a couple times where the words are a little bit bigger, but it's just the inconsistency of the lettering. The nostalgia wore off. It just, I couldn't put my finger on it, and I think it's those two things. The lettering and the nostalgia's gone.
Yeah. See, that's little things like that. It's the little details about a comic book that seem non-important. We don't really talk about it. But when it's wrong, it can really jack up a book. It can just really take you out of it and make it difficult or whatever. Ryan C. says it looks more like Miami Mice. The old spoof comic book that was out about the time when that actual show was coming out. And I remember that. That's pretty funny. It does look kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they did great things. Like, they popped with the color. They hit all the notes. It definitely feels like, the 80s. But, I couldn't quite put my finger on it until you mentioned it. And as I'm going through, I'm like, I got tired of trying to read the letterboxes. I was done.
Yeah, that's a bummer. That's a bummer, because you want that stuff to be fun. So.
Yeah.
Deadly Class. Reading Deadly Class. This is issue number 12. I actually physically saw this actual cover. I could have purchased it at Emerald City Comic Con. I didn't want to drop a cool grand plus on it, so it stayed there. I love it. I mean, I love this.
Yeah.
It looks awesome, but there's not that much art in all actuality to be paying that kind of price tag for. I mean, that's actually not a radical price for buying cover art, because cover art's just instinctually more than anything else, is because it's the cover and everybody recognizes. But it looked awesome. It looked awesome in person. I love it there too. I mean, it greatly represents what's going on in the book in its own right. Deadly Class continues to just be an amazing book if it's your thing. The art is incredible. The coloring by Blue Ridge is just great. The tones that are used through it, how the tones change depending on what's going on. There's this whole crazy scene at the beginning of this. Our main character, Marcus, is with his, now we would assume, ex-girlfriend, because he's been caught sleeping with another girl, and they have both been pinned down by, the girl he's with is Maria. Her ex-boyfriend, of course, they killed him. They're trying to retrieve his head from this other gang so they can hide the evidence that they killed this kid. So they're running out of this building with the kid's head in. Marcus has the kid's head in his hands. They go out the back door to escape. They think they've pulled off this crazy-ass caper. And standing outside the back door is the severed head's boy's father and his uncles and the entire Latino gang family. And these are like, they would be the equivalent of like a Tarantino, if you can imagine like a Tarantino Mexican mafia. That's what these guys are like. So they're completely over the top. Their faces are painted crazy. They have crazy tattoos. They're wearing awesome suits with little spangles on it and stuff. And they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. Basically the dad is saying, is talking about all the ways he's going to execute these guys. The kid's head is talking to Marcus. I mean, he's not really, but Marcus' head. So the head's going, dude, you better do something fast, otherwise this is all going to go to hell. One of their friends is coming around the corner, talking about how he saved the day, and this is the next shot with him, of him, getting blown through basically. And when that happens, the head's like, you better do something. So Marcus is throwing the severed head at the dad, and they attempt to escape. They unleash the older brother of the severed head, and he's this badass biker dude with all these, painted crosses on him and stuff, and he's chasing them down. It's this crazy chase scene through the city. Like I said, the pasting, energy, and coloring of the comic and the panel work is just incredible. There's never a bad moment in this one. We find out some other incredible things about Marcus, why he's kind of screwed up this relationship with this girl. Partially because he likes this other girl. He's been infatuated with this other girl anyway, but likes this girl because this girl liked him, and he doesn't think he can be liked by anybody. So of course, as soon as somebody likes him, I mean, it has all the trappings of high school drama, the stuff that actually goes on in high school when you have all those hormones and all that crazy crap. And then of course you have the fact they're from a school of assassins thrown in on top of it, which just makes it all, so much more blown out of proportion and crazy. We find out in this issue what happened to Marcus's parents. Marcus's parents were killed in front of him. A suicider, someone jumped off of a building to commit suicide and hit his mom and dad in front of him, and slaughtered them. And he talks about how if he didn't look at them, he didn't have to believe it was real, so he refused to look at them. His dad had bought him this balloon, so he looked at the balloon the entire time until somebody covered his parents with a quilt, so he never had to acknowledge that. There's this wonderful battle and fight through this whole thing, and there's one point where at the end of the book, Marcus is picked up and he is by his neck, kind of wrung and hung over this bridge and dropped. And he's dropped and he's falling. There's an image of the balloon, and it has some great words from Rick Remender about this whole, being loved or not being loved. And then you see Marcus starting to fall, and there's a pop sound of that balloon that he was hanging on to as a kid. It worked very, very well. But anyway, wonderful book. If you like a little bit of teen angst and you like art that has a unique style to it, and you like some crazy violence, and you're not offended by people called fuckface and stuff like that, it is an awesome book, and I recommend everybody pick up the trades on it if you haven't been buying it.
What issue is that?
That's issue 12.
12?
There are 3 trades out now.
Okay.
I think the 3rd trade just came out here very recently. But I'd pick up the first one. If you're not sold on the first one, then you aren't going to dig it. If you like it, then it just hasn't stopped. It's been probably the weakest issue is issue number 1, because you don't get enough of a sense of what it's really gonna be until after issue 1. Then it settles into him being at the school, him trying to figure out what the cliques are and where does he fit in amongst that kind of stuff, and then you start getting into his back history and stuff. But it's crazy cool. Matter of fact, this series was my series of the year last year. I would pick up. Let's see. We'll talk effigy a little bit. I'm really enjoying this. This is from Vertigo. This is issue number 4, written by Tim Seeley, art by Zarcone, Ham and Hill, pencil inker and colorist. A fun little book. Not sure exactly what to say about it. You've got this girl who used to be a child TV star. She was part of a space cop show. Now she's an actual policeman. Her past, the show has a massive fandom. Basically the equivalents of like Trekkers or Star Wars geeks, that sort of stuff that just are way over the top. A crime has been committed. Someone's been found murdered. They have a bunch of fandom tattoos on them. It's all kind of tying back into her past in a sense. And so she's been brought in. She's basically a meter maid. That's what she does for the police department. But she's been brought in because she's so tied into the case itself. They're at this convention, and she's trying to be incognito because, of course, she doesn't want people to see her at the convention, because then she won't be able to operate, because clearly she's one of the stars, even though she's not part of the convention secret anymore. But she's kind of having to deal with her past because the other co-stars are there. And this issue is interesting because you get the impression that this isn't just simply a murder. There's something weird going on because some of the people who are potentially involved quote some really strange stuff and almost seem like they're in a zombie trance of sorts when they do some things, which is interesting. We get some character moments in it that are pretty cool. I'm really liking it. I think Tim Seeley is writing a lot of interesting independent books that I don't know how many people are reading. The Sundowners, which is really interesting, but clearly didn't get enough readers because now it's gone to digital only. He's writing Revival, which is another really interesting, a lot going on, kind of complex books and whatnot. This is another one that I'm really enjoying. I'm excited to see where it goes, just because it's got so much kind of odd stuff going on in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Tim Seeley's writing. He's a good writer.
Yeah. I'm at the point now where pretty much anything new, if I hear Tim's writing it, I'm gonna try it out, just regardless of what the plot is gonna be over what the solicitation sounds like, because it's been most of the stuff he's been doing has been pretty solid.
Does Sundowners have 2 trades out or just one?
Just one. June, the second trade comes out, and I think they're done. I don't know. I think they're just finishing the next arc, and I don't know that anything's going to happen after that. Because right now it's digital only after issue 5 or 6 or whatever it is. And I don't know how well that's going digitally because, like I said, I'm not consuming it digitally. Yeah. But I did order, like I said, when I ordered my June comics, it was there. It was in solicitations to order. So I ordered it. I don't know if it comes out in June. Maybe it comes out in July. I can't remember. But I did order it. So to get that second one of it, because I've been enjoying that. Just I couldn't convince enough other people to read it, I guess. Penultimate issue of Suicide Risk, issue number 24. Next issue is the last issue. In this issue, all the worlds, all the universes are all going to be torn apart because of the shenanigans of this one world that's trying to get rid of the superpowered people, and everything's being ripped apart, and one of our characters has figured out a way to kind of tie it back together again. I don't want to say much else about it in case people are going to attempt to read it and trade. I really enjoyed the book. This was a cool issue, some great art in it, of them fixing the problem that's at hand. It seems that most of the issues cleared up. Now the next issue I think is going to basically be, what's left. What do these people go on to do now that they think they've fixed the problem? It's been a really interesting read of a book. As I always say when I talk about this book, clearly not anything at all that it was solicited as when the book first started out. I think it suffers from having a weird title, but it was a good read while it was around. Yeah. My favorite book of the week was Invisible Republic, issue number 2. I love the grittiness of this. The art in it is amazing. Just the fact that the way it's inked and drawn and colored. We got this kind of backwards, dirty world where they're in a grimy city and they're these two characters are trying to find their way out of the city to make a better life for themselves. These two characters have murdered a couple soldiers. They're trying to hide from that and get themselves off this planet, and it's not going so well. The only way they can get off the planet is basically selling themselves into being indentured servants. The kind of like how it used to be here in the United States in the early days. Come work for our mining company. We'll pay you this much money, but you have to live in our town. You have to eat our food. So by the time you're done paying for all of your stuff, you have no money left over, so you're kind of trapped because you can't save any money. They refuse to do that. They're not going to sign on to that indentured life. So now they don't know what they're going to do. That's all back history. Meanwhile, there's this reporter who's on this kind of backworld country. He's from a place where there's computers that, like we have, that organize everything. This backwards world, they still push paper. All birth records are all hard copy and stuff. He's trying to track down this Maria woman who is who's written this diary that he has. He wants to find all this information he can there so he can write this great story as a reporter. He's wandering around. He spends days and days and days going from one bureaucrat to another bureaucrat, telling him he's at the wrong office. You need to go here. You're at the wrong office. You need to go here. He finally finds the place. You know, they open the back room and they go, you want to find out anything on this woman? Good luck. And it's this picture of this basically just thousands upon thousands of rows of filing cabinets with papers thrown all over the place because the government's somewhat dysfunctional right now anyway. So he's trying to dig through all these papers. He discovers that there's people who do not want him to tell this story, even though this dictator's gone and dead, and they'll do whatever they have to make him stop. He's on top of this skyscraper. They actually smash him through the skyscraper and hang him off the edge of the skyscraper to try and convince him to hand over the diary and stop writing this story. They're willing to pay him lots and lots of money to stop this story. But, of course, him being the reporter that he is, and him feeling like this is like his equivalent to a Pulitzer Prize or a cash cow, he doesn't want to give up. So, really interesting. By the end of this issue, it's over the newscast that these people potentially or actually just him. She's not in it for some reason. That he is a potential suspect in the murder of these soldiers. So,
who does the art on that?
The art is done by Gabriel Hardman. He also helps write it along with Karina Bechko. Gabriel Hardman, I guess, he's known for doing work for the Big Two. I don't know exactly what that is. You know, what kind of work he's done. This is the first stuff that I'm really familiar with. Of course, I own a page of the first issue. I own a big splash page of the first issue I picked up a couple of weeks ago, almost a month ago now at Emerald City Comic Con. But just, I love this so much. There's an ad in the back here for a book by these two creators called the Crooked Man, which is coming out as a Treasury-sized graphic novel, and I don't know if that means it's extra big or it's extra small. Coming out in July, but I like this with issue number 2 so much that I will be getting that. I'm buying it sight unseen when I do my next order because the way these guys have delivered this book, it's just the perfect level of grim and gritty and desperation. The solicitations for the first issue was, you know, Blade Runner meets Breaking Bad, and as much as that isn't right, it is right at the same time. It has that feel. It has the Breaking Bad, the kind of desperate, I want to be more than what I am feel that Breaking Bad have. If you've watched that, Walter White just kind of wanting to be more than life gave him, and so he takes a pretty poor avenue to attempt to make his life better and to make himself feel more like a powerful person. It's got those elements in it, and it's got the very dark, seedy, you know, dirty city kind of future atmosphere that Blade Runner has in it, and it's just very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that cover is very sharp. I like that one page you show had like the cool little panel layouts there.
Yeah.
That was pretty, pretty sharp.
And it's like that all the way through it. It's just
Your art was from the last page of the first issue, is that correct?
Right. The splash page that shows the reporter reporting in, and in the background is this guy as an old man. He's the stereotypical dictator picture that's plastered on every wall. You know, when you see like, you know, Castro or you know, that sort of an image kind of a thing, slowly peeling away because of course his reign of power is over. So the story is this reporter trying to gather the story, and us getting to read the diary. The backstory is the diary of this girl following her cousin along as he gets himself to there, from being poor dirt farmers who basically ran from a farm that the one farmer died on it, and he supposedly left some money to them. And now she's beginning to wonder if he really died from an accident or Arthur had something to do with his death after he so easily kills these soldiers for a few coins. She's starting to wonder what her cousin's really like. But because she was part of this murder of these soldiers, she feels like she's now wedded to him. You know, she doesn't really feel like she can just walk away from him. So she's kind of along for whatever else happens. So we're going to get to see this long story of how does he get to be from a poor dirt farmer to controlling a world? How does he do that? So we're going to get to see that along with the people trying to stop this reporter from exposing this stuff. So worth getting on, I think. Yeah, if you like reading heavy stuff, I guess. What else do I want to talk about? Frankenstein Underground. Pretty simple story. It's enjoyable. It is Mignola writing it by himself, so the story tends to be pretty basic. Mignola's writing it by himself. Ben Steinbeck on art. This is issue number 2 of 5, I think it is. Enjoyable, but nothing special. Frankenstein has basically fallen down into the core of the earth. He gets snatched up by a giant cuttlefish right here. It drags him way underneath the water to some unknown world that's under the earth. And now he has been snatched up by some Neanderthal Conan looking like guys. They have him shackled and enslaved, and he's being hauled off to a castle that we don't know what's going to happen to him. So it's just kind of a bizarre under the earth Frankenstein meets who knows what kind of a story, but fun for what it is. Let's see. I did pick up 2 number 1s. I picked up Infinity Loop. This is by IDW. This cover is a Tool cover. It's like the B variant of it, not the A cover, I think. So this is a story about this woman. Her job is she goes and eliminates anomalies. Yeah, I'll get it right one of these times. In the time stream. So her job is she travels through time, and when something's out of place, she gets rid of it. Normally, it's inanimate objects. It would be like she goes back to the 14th century, and somebody's using a toaster oven, and she gets rid of the toaster oven because obviously it doesn't belong there. And there is like terrorists supposedly who are out there who are creating these things, who are messing with time for whatever reason, which that hasn't been defined for us. This first issue, we get a sense of what she's doing. The problem is the anomalies are becoming larger, and now they're becoming organic and alive, which is something totally new. Normally it's an inanimate object that's out of place. It'll be a Roman throne, setting out in the desert of 1955 when there should be a nuclear blast going off, but instead there's a throne from Rome, BC times. Now there's dinosaurs popping up where they don't belong, and that sort of thing that she's having to deal with. While that's what's going on, she's a field agent. There's a person that she talks to on like basically the equivalent of a Bluetooth that is like the guy who sits at home and talks her through whatever they're doing. They're friends. They go to lunch in this wonderful diner in 1955. They get on a conversation of love and that sort of stuff. She thinks that love is kind of a barbaric emotion, that most people have moved beyond those baser emotions. Their lives are much less complicated, and they can be more productive people if they don't deal with all that kind of stuff. They kind of go on a chase. They basically play tag across the time streams, chasing each other. It almost has a romantic tone to it, at least from the guy's perspective. He attempts to kiss her. She's not having anything to do with that. Things get kind of awkward between them because, of course, she's still subscribing to this. That's kind of a male, kind of a barbaric, Neanderthalic kind of thing. We don't do that. He's kind of embarrassed by it. And that seems to kind of be the storyline. Except for at the very end of this, she finds some really big anomaly that's out there, and it ends up being this woman. And it seems to be basically kind of love at first sight when she sees this person. So we're gonna, this is 4 issues. I'm sure the next issues are gonna deal with the fact is that okay, her entire life she subscribed to this. There's no love, there's none of that stuff. Now suddenly she's hit with this wave of emotion that, of course, she has been saying is this kind of base, barbaric, yuck kind of a thing, and now she's hit with it. Now what does she do? Plus, on top of that, it's something that she's supposed to get rid of, and maybe she's in love with it. So I'm interested in it. It sounds like it's going to be a romance comic of sorts, along with this whole kind of sci-fi thing going on. So I'm curious about that. Clearly, obviously, that makes it a lesbian relationship. I was a bit puzzled by the letters page in here. The letters page almost made it sound like this wasn't a comic book for me, even though I liked it. Because the letters page is in here. It's like, oh, hey, send us your letters of your first time, you know, your first gay love, your first trans love, your first whatever. So clearly, it's either written by people who are gay, trans, or whatever. Not that that matters to me. But the letters page was clearly geared towards the LBG community, or whatever that was. But it just made it kind of odd to say, hey, give us your letters if it's this kind of a thing, as opposed to, hey, give us your letters about lost love or whatever. It was more specific than that. So I kind of went, huh, that's interesting. So, but I liked it. I liked the art, and it's really cool inside. I guess I should show some art inside on it. It's very stylized. Let's see here. Here she is facing off against a T-Rex.
Wow.
But I like the way she looks. Her crown, her bun. She looks a little sharp. It's simple, clean line art. Conveys the action and what's going on as she's being chased around here by this dinosaur in 1955 out in the desert where there's supposed to be a nuclear bomb going off. There's this great infinity loop here, which talks about the whole crazy cycle of if you fall in love and all the stuff that happens, and then it goes back, and just this, kind of thing. This great black and white moment here where you kind of get the sense from him is like, oh, like maybe he thought this was a dinner date, and now she kind of lets him down from that dinner date. That was a great way to color that page to give it a little more emphasis and stuff. So
page layout looked amazing in there.
Yeah, this is one of the chase scenes of them just kind of running through time, so it looks like almost like an M.C. Escher print. That panel there, that page and panels of them kind of running and chasing each other through time and space and whatnot. But it was cool. It was fun. 4 issues. I'm going to enjoy it, I think. Here she is. Here she is at the end. Her running into this other woman, and then this final page of them standing there, and you've got this spiral of their two faces going between her face, the anomaly's face and her face, the anomaly's face, her face, as it just kind of spins around into the middle.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, and there's actually in here, there's also another fun thing in this. As she's facing the dinosaur, there's a flow chart of what to do when you're faced with this kind of stuff. Will you survive a T-Rex? Is this your first time? Yes or no? Yes. if yes, the answer is to run. And then if you run, then are you running? Yes. Are you a raptor or Usain Bolt? And then if you answer yes, you're an idiot. And then it goes down to you're dead. If you answer no, it just goes straight to you're dead. So it's funny. It's funny. It's got some cute, funny aspects to it too. So that was a successful #1. This drones. Yeah, that cover, whatever. Issue #1 by Chris Lewis, writing it, and Bruno Oliveira on art. This is another IDW book. I see this little marker down here, and that is Comics Experience. And I don't know if you guys are familiar. Comics Experience is actually an online school that you can go to and learn to write scripts or learn to draw or learn to letter and all the aspects of a comic book. As my understanding is, you can sign up, and it's basically like online college. You get a Skype with actual people, you get peer review and that sort of thing. And so I'm assuming this came out of that. And I see IDW has quite a few books coming out that have that tag on it too. So somehow they're tied into that, I think, just to give you an aspect of how probably new these people are. So what this is drones. It's about a drone pilot, a guy who works for the Air Force who's flying a drone, flying around in Afghanistan, blowing people up, and then by day he's hanging out in Las Vegas and outside of Las Vegas, because that's where most of the drones are actually piloted from, is basically outside of Vegas, for people who don't know how that all works. So it's about a guy who's a pilot, and he has the equivalent of a co-pilot with him, and he's actually, who's his superior officer, he actually has a relationship with that superior officer. It's a guy and a lady. When they're not on base, they're hooking up, which of course they shouldn't be because that's against military rules or whatever. So this begins with them doing this wicked hit on some guy called Big Beard. They've nicknamed him Big Beard, this Taliban guy who's planting IEDs out in Afghanistan. And they go to do a strike on him, they're dropping some hell missiles on him, and right as they hit, the pilot gets this flash of a bunch of women, kind of weird image, and they blow everybody up. They think it's a confirmed hit, but who knows, kind of a thing. Fast forward a little bit, we get this scene that's supposedly still in Afghanistan. We get this guy who I guess is some sort of Taliban leader. He is he's eating flapjacks. Okay, so that's the first thing that seems really strange to me. So yeah, so we're in the Swords of Doom training camp, which I'm assuming the Swords of Doom training camp is someplace, off someplace, because you got your stereotypical guys here, dressed up their headbands and their masks, so you can't see who they are. And this whole dialogue just seems really strange. I'm not sure if it's actually in Afghanistan or if it's actually someplace in a secret place in Las Vegas. And I'll explain why in a second. But the dialogue is so wrong. It's so hip and whatnot that I can't imagine that this is supposed to be the equivalent of us of Afghanistan, or Taliban people talking this way. It seems way, way out of place. But cut back to Las Vegas. Our main characters are out on the town of Las Vegas, and the woman gets abducted, and the guy gives chase, and they end up at this resort hotel that specializes in abductions, and everybody's dressed up like Middle East terrorists and whatnot. So you get the whole terrorist abducted experience depending on what kind of package you pay for. And he's kind of standing outside and he's being accosted by all these people trying to sell him different versions of abduction, right? Because his significant other has been abducted, and he doesn't think it's part of the hotel thing, but the hotel seems to think it is part of that. And also on the street they see somebody who looks exactly like Big Beard, this guy that they supposedly did this airstrike on in Afghanistan. Like somehow he's suddenly teleported to this place. So I don't know. It was very random, very strange, and not very good.
Weird concept.
Well, see, I thought, I have my own personal story that I have written about a pilot who pilots drones, because to me it's a fascinating idea to be somebody who goes around executing people, but it's like the equivalent of a video game for you while you're doing that. So I was interested in the story from that aspect. Gee, what kind of story is somebody else going to tell about flying drones? And the guy who's flying them is kind of obsessed with them. He has his own personal one that he whizzes around when he's not flying one for the military. And the whole idea of Vegas, that sounds so like Vegas. That would be something that they would try. Somebody in Vegas would try to pull. Let's give them the abduction experience, kind of a thing. So that's kind of cool too. But I don't know that any of it's executed well. And like I said, the whole terrorist camp thing, that whole thing was just bizarre as hell. I don't know how it squares away. So
that looked like a big stack of pancakes they're eating, though.
He was. The lady who made them, who I can't remember what he calls her, but she's dressed in a nurse's outfit. She calls them flapjacks, so they're flapjacks. and whatever magic is done with buttermilk and blueberries is magical.
It's magic.
And these idiots who can't goose step right, they're going toe heel instead of heel toe, are wrecking his flapjacks. That's kind of what the whole conversation is about, is they beat the hell out of the guy because he can't goose step right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Picked up another issue of Mr. X. It's cool for being Mr. X. Otherwise, it's not like anything too riveting. I would never tell anybody to go pick this up. If you're familiar with it and you liked it in the past, I would say get on it. But this is issue 4 of 5, not someplace to get in the front door at. There are trades floating around of different Mr. X stories. You could pick up pretty much any one of those if Dean Motter is the actual guy who did the work on it, to get a sense of what Mr. X is like. But yeah, okay. And Curb Stomp continues to be Curb Stomp. It's there's like 2 lines in the book that read like amazing pieces of smart poetry or literature, surrounded by a bunch of other stuff that really is the dumbed down equivalent of the movie The Warriors. And if you're familiar with that 1970s movie The Warriors, I'm not sure how it can get a lot dumber than that. But somehow Curb Stomp seems to do that. Yeah, you know, the fun things about that, the Warriors movie, the whole clacking of the bottles and the Warriors come out to play, somehow that never makes it in this, for you to at least get that moment to go, oh yeah! No. But this was issue 3 of 4. That's why I'm getting it, because of course I don't have OCD, but I bought it that far, you might as well get the rest of it right. And that's pretty much my week in comics. I'm going to kind of look over the comments, because there were quite a few of them there for a little bit. So we'll kind of go over that and see what there is, and see if there's anything we come back to. Let's see here.
That Lions Press that I was looking at that does the Miami Vice. It looks like they're also going to do Airwolf and I'm trying to remember on like one of the back pages.
I got to do Stingray also, or Riptide.
I'm not sure.
Simon and Simon. Let me name off all the other 80s shows.
Stingray, but no, it's the Indestructible Stingray, so I think that's something else.
Whoa.
Indestructible.
Yeah, I don't know Indestructible, but I always liked the Stingray show when it was out.
All right. Airwolf, Rampage Jackson, Knight Rider, and Miami Vice. So.
Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to read Comic Commando's comment. Hello everyone, I'm really enjoying watching the weekly comic book roundtable discussion. I'm an avid X-Men fan for almost 3 decades and very angry by the direction Marvel is going. I started a petition to get Marvel's attention to stop the misplacement of the X-Men, a replacement of the X-Men with Inhumans just because the movie rights belong to Fox. Us fans shouldn't have to suffer. Did you take a few minutes to sign it? And he's got it in the link in the comments there about that. Sure feels like that's what they're doing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That they're moving, to the Inhumans and away from mutants. I guess we'll see exactly if that's really what ends up being or whatnot.
Because they still have the rights to the cartoons, to the toys.
Right,
but
just
they're not
the movies.
Exploring that. They want the movies. Yeah.
Well, because that's where the millions of dollars are at. And billions, yeah.
Yep.
And thank you, Commando, for your petition not being about the fact that in X-Men 40, you all knew X-Men number 40, young Bobby Iceman has come out as being gay. I'm glad that isn't what the issue is, because that shouldn't be an issue, not in my opinion anyway. See, Huey P. and Louis V. is saying Invisible Republic is a really good book. I couldn't agree with you more. Art and story are top-notch. It's definitely a slow unfold, though, but I'm enjoying it. Nothing wrong with slow. Nothing wrong with slow. We don't need everything at once. It's nice to have a story go over a long time, I think, instead of it just all being there at once. Let's see. Oh, so my cover for the Infinity Loop is the subscription variant, and it's by, I'm wrong, it's by Stephanie Hans. You are right, it is Stephanie Hans. Shame on me. I should know that. Sleepy Reader says, I agree with all the cool stuff in Infinity Loop, but the actual time travel elements bother me by their vagueness. Creating anomalies, how? Stopping anomalies, how? Time travel racing, how? Yeah, how are they doing that? You're right. they're not like wearing gizmos on their wrists that they punch into to make them do it. Somehow it just seems that they can do that. You're right. In that sense, that's all vague. Damien, I don't know how important is the sci-fi element of the book. I mean, I thought those elements were cool. You're right. The sci-fi part of it breaks down in the fact we have no explanation for any of that stuff. I'm not sure how much of the story is really going to be about the nuts and bolts end of it, and how much of it's going to actually be about this whole relationship and love and that sort of thing. I think is what the book is really going to be about. So I think those elements were just to set up this is how this society is operating now, because these people are from, I don't know, the 31st century. They've moved beyond our frail trappings of emotions, supposedly, and this is going to explore that. And so I think that's going to be the focus of the story, not the sci-fi elements. But I understand what you're saying, though, about the fact that it's, how come there's no explanation for those.
But Ziggy did all the work.
Yeah, but it could have been as simple as, she flips her wrist and punches something and zaps to wherever that she's doing, however that happens. They could just make a simple statement to say, it's this that does it. And maybe that would be satisfying enough. I don't know. But like I said, I think the story elements are less about the time travel itself, but just to set up her getting to have this experience and have it in a way for her to work through that, I think. So less about the actual sci-fi itself. But anyway, and that looks like that's for comments. Any independent news floating about? I can't think of anything right offhand that is ringing a bell.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah, I can't think of anything either. That's I will say, if people are interested, if you happen to watch last week's show, we got talking about the copyright stuff and what creator owned, as far as the Image books and the stuff under the Shadow line, which is Kirkman's thing, and there was some conversation with Ryan C and stuff about, do those creators own that stuff, or is it solely owned by the Shadow line and Kirkman as opposed to the creators? Go check out some of the comments from last week's show. Some of that stuff gets discussed a lot more. Pretty interesting. It does seem that basically the creators that are writing under the Shadow line, they don't have the rights are Shadow line's rights. I mean, I don't know what kind of personal contract that each of these people have. Do get paid some more if their book gets picked up as a TV show or a movie? But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not the creators. It doesn't look like they can take it with them. It is Shadow lines and whatnot. So I mean, technically, it looks like that means that if one of these Shadow line books, like Birthright, for instance, if the creators on Birthright decide, we're done, we're tired of doing this, Kirkman could take the book potentially to somebody else and have them continue writing it. So it could go on like a franchise book, like the big two are, which was something that I hadn't really thought of. And there's some discussion in that under that video about how that makes us feel about the independent book, knowing that it's not quite as independent as we thought it was. Does that change kind of the feeling about it? The magic that is Image Comics. Maybe it's not always so magical. Maybe, I don't know. You can take that however you want to for that. So, yeah. Anyway, anything else?
No.
Any parting words, as I spent the last hour talking about myself, basically? So.
For those people that are out there looking at new comics trades with the Avengers that are out, of course, remember that New Comic Book Day is coming this next Saturday, and there is a lot of trinkets and nuggets of things to buy out there, because I know I got hooked. I went to Barnes & Noble today, and there was 3 or 4 other things that caught my eye, and I purchased. So, I mean, the glut of it is out there now. So
yeah, next weekend right? Next weekend is Free Comic
Yeah.
Book Day. Next Saturday. If you are lucky enough to live someplace where there are comic book shops, lots of those shops clearly will have the free comics. Go and check out those free comics. Keep your retailer in mind. Those comics are free to you. They are not free to the retailer. They actually purchase them at some discounted rate, but they actually have to buy those things. They're using them to help draw in customers to hope to get more people into their store to read books. So keep that in mind, and hopefully you purchase some books while you're at your local comic book store. Lots of those stores have awesome deals, I hear. I'm not familiar with that, but I know some people luck out to be at stores that have those. So go and check that out. New Comic Book Day, if they have a nice selection, you can get just about any kind of book at New Comic Book Day. There will be stuff for your very, very small children there, clear up the stuff for us big boys and girls who like to read comics. So check that out next Saturday. And then we'll be back here Saturday night to talk about them, maybe. I don't know if I'll have mine or not. I don't know if I'll get mine mailed to me the week in advance or if I'll get mine the week after. But it doesn't matter. We'll talk about them anyway in some sense or another, probably. And with that, I think we're done.
Are you getting Free Comic Book Day
Yes,
books
I am.
then? All right.
Yes, I am. I am getting free comic books. Discount Comic Book Service does, I think it allows you to pick like, I don't know, like a dozen almost books you can pick. So yeah, I have an option to go through and pick, all kinds of, and usually what I do with Discount Comic Book Service, I go and I pick the most random, off-the-wall things I can find that might be out there. I attempt to get from them generally, or there's stuff I really, really know I want. I do have a Hastings store here. It's a chain store that does sell comics. Their comic selling isn't very effective, but they always do New Comic Book Day, so more than likely I will hit that to get the standard stuff, because they'll have the standard stuff too. The Hole in the Wall that is attempting to be a comic book store in my town supposedly was going to do New Comic Book Day. I have not seen any ads to say they're doing it. I may go there too just to see what that desperate place tries to attempt to do for New Comic Book Day too. But yeah, so hopefully but I will have New Comic Book. I will have some of the free comic books, so should be fun. Yeah. Anyway, with that, we're going to call it a night. Thank you guys for coming in, tuning in again. Those of you that watch, thank you for watching, either live or later. I encourage those of you who are curious to come on and be on the show. We went from having lots of people asking to be on the show and me having to say, oh, not this week because there's too many people, to not that I'm sick of seeing Luke and Mike's face. They can come on anytime they want to. But we'd be happy to have some other faces here along the way also. So jump on. Christina, I know you're watching, and one of these days I'm going to hold you two coming on the show. So bear that in mind. And we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody.